The story kicks off in a massive, packed arena, where a fighter in a white gi gets ready for a major showdown. The ref stretches out his arm, signaling that the match needs to start right away. The brawl begins instantly with a lightning-fast dash between the two opponents. The fighter named Dorian goes all in, charging full force and already trying to bypass his rival's guard. Taking full advantage of the opening, he easily takes his opponent's back. The winner adjusts his stance to lock in a submission, keeping a tight grip on his rival's combat. Totally dominating the scene, he forces the tap out and secures them. The crowd goes wild, hyping up the jiu-jitsu phenom who just snatched his 8th title in a row. Riding high on happiness, Dorian throws his arms up, flexing his gold medals at the absolute peak of his career. Right then, a reporter walks up, totally amazed by the unprecedented milestone of the first Asian athlete to win so many times back-to-back, trying to uncover his secret. Playing it cool, the champ explains that there are no shortcuts. He simply toughed it out and crushed his obstacles day by day. But he quickly drops a warning, hinting that things can flip upside down if someone keeps pushing themselves like that. The formidable world champ, who absolutely owned the tournaments before calling it quits, became an absolute legend. Sadly, this legendary master passed away a while later. A massive crowd gathers at the memorial to pay their final respects to the fighter. Nearby, a teen named Jai Chialmin watches the whole memorial service, looking incredibly drained. He watches everyone paying their respects from a distance, making it super clear he's totally detached from the rest of the group. Suddenly, the kid's eyes go wide when he notices something totally out of the ordinary in that room. Taking in the scene, the boy stares at the line of grieving people bowing before the altar. A while later, the scene cuts to a super messy bedroom, lit up by the morning sun. The room belongs to Chialmin and has random stuff tossed everywhere, including a picture frame next to the bed. Out of nowhere, a woman slams the door wide open, demanding the kid get up right this second. Looking totally annoyed, his mom walks in, complaining to her daughter for making her be the one to wake him up. With zero patience, the woman starts making the messy bed in a super sloppy way. She points a finger, demanding the teen hurry up so he isn't late for high school. The MC just lies there, completely zeroed out on motivation for the life he's living. Looking in the mirror, Chialmin thinks he's just an average student, or maybe even more irrelevant than that. But he quickly admits there is exactly one trait that makes him stand out from everyone else. Standing completely still in his own room, the teen notices a super weird presence glued to him. A glowing, ghost-like silhouette is just chilling right next to his window. The boy explains that his main flex is being able to see spirits every single day. Out of nowhere, the phantom turns its head, staring at the kid in a really creepy way. Freaked out by the entity's vibe, he slightly turns his head to try and play it cool. Chialmin figures it's better to go through life pretending he's clueless, keeping this whole mystery to himself. The teen grabs his backpack off the bed, getting ready for another day. He is absolutely convinced that his daily routine will become a total nightmare if people find out about his gift. When he hits the kitchen, his mom asks if he wants to grab a bite, but the kid warns her he's running late. The second he turns around, his stepdad smacks him hard on the back of the head. The guy treats the teen with pure hostility, demanding respect and complaining that he tried to dip without greeting the family. Just accepting his reality, Chialmin lowers his head and takes the insult in total silence. Not wanting to drag out the drama, the MC throws on his shoes to finally leave the house. In the background, his mom asks her husband why he's being so harsh to the kid this early in the morning. The stepdad fires back rudely, claiming she babies her stepson way too much. Out in the apartment hallway, the teen vents about having a stepdad who picks fights daily and a mom who only tries to smooth things over. To make matters worse, he also has to put up with a stepsister who treats him like total garbage. Walking down the building stairs, the kid actually considers that just vanishing would be way easier than living like this. Halfway there, the boy walks alone down the street heading to his daily drop zone. Finally, Chialmin makes it to the main gate of Andre High School, walking through a sea of students. The school's courtyard is an absolute zoo, packed with students leaning against walls and stirring up drama. Near the entrance, one of the bullies acts like a total jerk, ordering another student to scramble out of his spot right that second. The MC notes that his school is already super famous in the area for the worst possible reasons. Literally a dumpster fire, the school is basically a stash for problematic kids who absolutely love picking fights every day. He draws a parallel between this place and wild beasts prowling around looking for easy targets. However, the kid breaks down that there is one way to survive this food chain, and it's basically just dodging shoulder bumps naturally. Suddenly, a tough guy walks up looking intimidating, asking if the kid was staring at him. Keeping a totally blank face, Chialmin denies the accusation, just trying to dodge any beef. Right then, an acquaintance walks by and greets him using the wrong name, forcing the MC to awkwardly correct him. Walking down the trashy hallway, the teen concludes that flying under the radar and being forgotten is a massive perk here. Further ahead, a squad of girls is walking and complaining about being bored, while one of them carries a musical instrument. The leader of the little clique looks incredibly annoyed by the lack of fun things to do at school. Keeping his posture super slouched, Jialmin sneaks past the girls, gripping his backpack straps for dear life. One of the girls finds the whole thing hilarious, joking that the loser is totally crushing on their friend. The leader of the squad completely brushes off the insult, telling her friend to shut up. The student finally makes it to the door of his classroom. As soon as he walks in, the untouchable kid's morning follows the same awful route. Without missing a beat, the boy hands over a snack and a juice box to one of the classroom's bullies. His daily school grind forcibly starts with paying taxes just so he doesn't get treated even worse. Hyping up the food, the troublemaker immediately drops a new demand, ordering him to level up his rank in a video game by the end of the week. Jialmin just gives a little nod, accepting the demand without pushing back at all. Walking to the back of the classroom, the kid lets out a sigh, bracing himself for what he's going to find. The only prize he usually gets after all this forced labor is always exactly the same. The drawer of the kid's school desk is completely stuffed with all sorts of literal trash. Mocking the whole situation, the bully orders the MC to clean his desk, humiliating him in front of everyone. A few students join in on the joke and laugh, saying his parents must have picked his name on purpose since he's so useless. Opting to stay quiet, the teen decides not to talk back, fully believing that ignoring it makes the whole thing end faster. Without zero warning, some white liquid gets dumped right on top of the MC's head, leaving him startled and totally covered in a mess. Bursting with anger, the blonde bully holds up an empty carton and yells at a sidekick for handing him the wrong item on purpose. Covered in grime, Jialmin just cries internally, accepting that his torturous school routine has officially started. The liquid slowly drips down the kid's chair, marking yet another rough day. Meanwhile, right outside the main gate, a young woman stops in front of the Andre High School sign. Bursting with energy, she looks at the building super hyped, noting that this is where she'll get the teachings of a certain professor due. Right then, the girl ends up remembering a familiar voice, asking if she had run away from home again. The flashback brings up a vision of some guys just talking trash in an alley, complaining about their own moms. Shaking off the memory, the young woman walks up to some students in the courtyard and politely asks where the teacher's lounge is. Once inside the principal's office, the head of the school gives a heads up that the students here tend to be a bit unruly and that it will take her some time to adjust. Super hyped, the rookie teacher bows way too much and promises she will give this job 100% of her effort. Trying to chill the vibe, the older man asks her to relax, saying all that formality really isn't needed. But he quickly flips his tone and drops a serious warning, asking her to report any trouble right away and to never resort to extreme measures. The young woman looks a bit confused by the tip, not really getting what he meant by that. Suddenly, a soccer ball smashes through the window and blasts into the room, scaring the absolute life out of the teacher. Through the broken glass, one of the cheeky students yells from the courtyard, demanding the man throw the ball back. The principal just lets out an awkward laugh, noting that kids these days show up to school already playing sports, and tosses the ball back with a smile. Turning their backs, the boys make fun of the old man's friendly vibe, until one of them finally realizes they just disrespected the actual principal. Ignoring the blatant disrespect, the older guy holds out his hand with a smile and says he has super high expectations for teacher Do. Totally embarrassed by the absurd situation, the young woman just nods, stuttering. Next, she steps into her classroom and introduces herself, all smiles as Du Haseon, the brand new math teacher. The catch is that the classroom looks like an actual war zone, full of fights and pure chaos, leaving the woman clueless about who she should even be talking to. Right in the middle of the mess, Jialmin lifts his head and instantly recognizes the new staff member. He remembers that she's an older girl who used to train in the athlete division at his old training center. A quick flashback shows the girl submitting an opponent on the mat with zero effort, making the kid wonder if she had quit the sport. Wanting to stay completely invisible, the MC just rests his head on his desk and goes back to being quiet. Trying to take the wheel, Haseon claps her hands, asking for focus so they can officially start the class. Totally disrespecting her authority, one of the troublemakers rests his face on his hand and mocks the whole thing, asking how long it's gonna take before she quits. Sweating from anxiety, the woman keeps up her polite persona and reminds the boy that this is literally just her first day on the job. Making the room even worse, another student jumps up from his desk, super hyped, suggesting everyone ditch class to go have fun outside. Keeping her strict teacher facade, she makes it crystal clear that the obvious answer is no. However, right at that exact second, one of the students looks out the hallway window and announces to the whole room that a massive brawl is going down out there. Like a literal herd, all the students jump up from their desks and sprint desperately out of the room to watch the fight. In a matter of seconds, the place becomes a complete ghost town and totally silent. Frustrated, the young woman takes a deep breath, asking herself what the major glitch is with this school. Out in the hallway, a brutal punch lands square on a student's face, sending the poor guy flying backward. The attacker is the exact same blonde bully from earlier, screaming at the kid and demanding to know why he bumped into him on purpose. With a busted face, the victim apologizes, begging him to stop being so savage. Watching it all go down from a distance, the other students gossip that the kid is getting beat up again for the exact same petty reason as always. Rejecting the apology, the troublemaker winds up for another hit, declaring that nobody ruins his mood and gets away with it. Right before the punch lands, the rookie teacher appears in the blink of an eye and stops the bully's fist using just one hand. Completely baffled, the blonde kid stares at the woman, not understanding how she managed to block his attack so fast, while the crowd wonders where she even spawned from. In a super chill way, Hossein scolds the teen, saying students shouldn't be fighting, and adds that they should all be in class right now. Freaked out by her intimidating aura, the troublemaker gulps and nods, stuttering that she's right. Happy with the submission, the teacher gives a slightly scary smile and orders everyone back to the classroom. Shattering the piece instantly, a juice box gets chucked super hard and hits the teacher right on the forehead. The mob of students watches the whole thing, totally shocked by how bold the throw was. The liquid drips down the woman's face as she stands completely still, radiating a dark aura packed with bottled-up rage. Noticing she isn't reacting, the blonde bully loses his fear and goes back to mocking her, sarcastically asking if a teacher thinks she can scare students like that. Shaking with anger, Hossein clenches her fist super tight while the voice of her old master echoes in her head, giving her a lecture. The flashback shows the instructor heavily scolding the girl, demanding she keep her promise to never pick fights off the mats. Offended by the lecture, the younger version of the girl yells in her own defense, claiming the other kid started it. Pointing a stick at her, the elderly master warns that this is no excuse to seriously injure an opponent, promising a terrifying punishment if she messes up again. Snapping back to the present, the teacher lowers her head, trying to hold on to her bruised pride no matter what. The image of a gloomy memorial altar flashes in her mind, reinforcing how important her past promise really is. Fighting her own impulses, she repeats to herself that she needs to keep it together and that she won't fight in the streets anymore out of respect for her master. Right in the middle of the student circle, Jiaomin watches his old training partner get embarrassed in total silence. Suddenly, the MC's eyes glow a bright blue, showing that he just noticed something supernatural going down in the room. Taking advantage of the woman doing nothing, the blonde kid steps up, complaining about her vibe and demanding a reaction. He stares Hossein down up close, asking in a super aggressive tone if she also thinks he's some kind of loser she can just ignore. Before the bully can even finish talking trash, his face morphs into pure shock as his body gets lifted off the ground completely upside down. Out of nowhere, a hooded ghost-like silhouette grabs the blonde kid by the arm and launches him through the air with a flawless throw. With zero chance to brace himself, the boy drops hard, slamming his back directly onto the hallway floor. Sprawled out on the ground, the troublemaker groans in pain, completely lost and having no clue what just hit him. The figure, totally invisible to regular people, just stands there, giving off an epic and terrifying blue aura. Watching everything from afar, Jiaomin thinks that the worst part about people finding out his gift would be having to deal with the aftermath. He breaks down that one of those problems is ending up with a spirit following you everywhere 24/7. Pulling back the hood, the spirit reveals himself as Dorian, the legendary jiu-jitsu master who is now trailing the MC. The kid remembers the old news reports talking about the tragic discovery of a body, where the cause of passing was super sketchy to everyone. The flashback shows the once great champ lying in a dark alley, defeated by his own struggles outside the fighting ring. The scene flips to the past at the old gym, where one of the spot's instructors opens the door. The guy looks at the corner of the fighting mat, completely shocked by who he sees in there. Sitting down and leaning against the lockers, Jiaomin stares at absolutely nothing while holding his bag, looking incredibly crushed. Not really getting it, the instructor asks what the kid is doing there, since there are no classes scheduled for that day. With his head down, the teen replies that he got notified he couldn't train there anymore, and he was just there to grab his stuff and leave for good. Leaving the old gym, Jiaomin says goodbye to the coach looking super depressed, shutting the door behind him. Right then, two students walk down the hall talking about the sudden cancellation of the night classes. The kid overhears the chat from afar and gets super curious about the random news. The teens say that the spot's Grand Master ended up passing away from an overdose on illegal substances, calling it ironic since he was always judging addicts. Totally devastated by the fatal news, the MC can barely believe what he just heard. The teen tries to process the passing of the guy he used to train with and looked up to so much back in the day. Snapping back to the present in the school hallway, the kid stares at the ghostly silhouette, wondering exactly how he lost his life. Giving off that scary blue energy, the spirit points dead straight at the student right in the middle of the chaos. The figure wants to know if the kid can actually see him, making the MC realize his problems have literally just begun. Down below in the courtyard surrounded by gossiping students, the vibe gets heavy with the massive ghost just standing there motionless. Wasting no time, the spirit starts screaming, demanding the kid actually do something instead of just standing there watching. With crazy good observation skills, Chialman fully gets why that old coach is so mad, even after crossing over. It turns out the fallen fighter's own daughter became a teacher, and was basically about to get attacked by an unhinged student. Trying to dodge the drama, the teen turns his head and mutters that the ghost should go call the cops instead of haunting him. Furious at his lack of guts, Dorian touches the kid's face, promising he'd take all the heat if he just broke up the fight, leaving the student completely shocked. Realizing the kid isn't gonna help, the former fighter lets out a frustrated sigh, facing his own reality. He looks down at the weird bracelet on his wrist, checking out every little detail of the item. Weighing the very few options he has in his current state, the spirit seems to get a highly dangerous idea. Super stealthily, the entity floats over and positions himself right behind the MC, who's still trying his hardest to ignore the school drama. The ghost raises his hand wearing the magic accessory, ready to execute his crazy plan immediately. A wild flashback shows that the Grand Master refused to cross over because he thought his fate was unfair, literally attacking the Grim Reaper. Catching the Reaper totally off guard, he locked in a chokehold with zero mercy. Capitalizing on the magical entity passing out, the fighter managed to steal that paranormal item dropped on the floor. Back in the present, the champ notices that whenever that accessory glows, something supernatural happens right around him. Without giving any heads up, he reaches his arm straight toward the kid's back in complete silence. The bracelet starts radiating intense power mere seconds before touching the student's body. Suddenly, the ghost freezes when he notices a totally different reaction than he expected, looking completely stunned. Oblivious to all of this, Chialman stays focused on dodging the drama, believing that walking away is the ultimate strat to not get involved. However, he feels a freakish chill run through his entire body, instantly freezing him in his tracks in the hallway. Totally confused, the MC feels an overwhelming power take control of his actions, leaving him zero ability to react. With a paranormal shockwave, the legendary Master's ghost charges hard and enters the kid's body without even asking for permission. Blue energy pulses like crazy during the forced possession process, right in the middle of the loud hallway. The sync wraps up fast, downloading all the champ's fighting experience straight into that slouched kid. Chialman's eyes lose their normal spark and turn ice cold, proving he's no longer the one driving. Being puppeted by the ghost, the teen moves fast and grabs a dark hoodie left on one of the empty desks nearby. Out in the hall, the blonde bully keeps acting unhinged, annoyed that the new teacher is staying quiet while he talks trash. Dialing up the stress, the troublemaker gets closer and asks, totally mocking her, if she thinks he's just a joke. Before the woman can even say anything back, a hand spawns out of nowhere on the bully's back, ready to go to work. Caught completely slipping, the problem kid feels the world spin hard as the floor literally vanishes from under his feet. Using the hoodie to hide his identity, the MC piloted by the master pulls off a flawless and brutal throw. The impact is devastating, sending the blonde kid skidding across the slick hallway floor, causing a massive bang to echo through the whole area. Feeling the weight of the hit, the attacker groans in pain trying to get up, totally lost as to who had the guts to step to him. Standing completely still in the middle of the stunned crowd, the unknown hero strikes a menacing pose, looking exactly like a legit pro fighter. Blinded by rage after getting embarrassed in public, the troublemaker charges hard, demanding to know who his new rival is. Ignoring all the red flags, the tough guy runs in furiously to strike back, having zero clue about the massive problem he was walking into. With terrifying calmness, the hooded kid dodges the opponent's brutal rush, pulling off a super simple head slip. Taking advantage of the massive gap left by the sloppy attack, he hits another spectacular throw, using every single ounce of the opponent's own weight against him. With zero chance to defend himself, the attacker's body is slammed violently against the floor with picture-perfect technical accuracy. Insanely frustrated about getting folded in front of everyone, the boy grits his teeth, feeling like the absolute lowest trash in the school. But the punishment doesn't end there, because the mystery intruder quickly locks in a tight chokehold using the enemy's clothes. The pressure on his neck ramps up insanely fast, cutting off the troublemaker's air, sending him into an instant panic. Unable to fight back against a master-level move, the teen's vision starts going dark as he completely loses consciousness. With the problem solved, the MC lets go of the passed-out body and just stays sitting on top of him, making sure the fight is 100% over. Right at that exact second, the possession seems to fade, and Cheolmin suddenly gets the steering wheel of his own mind back. Realizing the surreal mess he's in, the teen starts internally screaming when he sees he just dropped the school's top bully. Around them, the mob of nosy students watches the scene in absolute shock, not understanding how a random guy just pulled that off. Even teacher Hosseon is mind-blown and amazed by how natural and precise the moves were that just saved her. Dead silence takes over the hallway as everyone tries to process the unbelievable defeat of the guy who ran that place. Knowing his peaceful life just crashed and burned, the kid jumps up in a panic and sprints away through the crowd of students. Without looking back for a single second, he bolts down the stairs at top speed, hunting for a safe spot as fast as humanly possible. After running for his life, Cheolmin finally stops in the middle of an empty stairwell, trying to catch his breath after the frantic escape. He takes off the hoodie he used as a disguise and just tosses it into a corner, making sure nobody recognizes the fit from the incident. Terrified, the kid turns to the ghost and demands an immediate explanation for what the heck just happened to his body. The spirit just stares at his own hands, amazed by the feeling of taking someone down, completely ignoring the teen's panic attack. Furious at the invasion of privacy, the MC covers his mouth in horror, viewing this freaky power as completely unacceptable. Still scared of getting caught, he carefully peeks around the edge of the wall to see if any student was tailing him. In the main hallway, way over there, the crowd is still huddled around the dropped bully, who is just starting to slowly wake up. Super confused, the blonde kid finally manages to sit up on the courtyard floor, shaking and completely disoriented after getting knocked out. Watching from afar, Cheolmin bites his nails in pure panic, imagining how his daily life is about to become an absolute living hell from this second on. He shrinks back against the cold stairwell wall, praying that the defeated attacker has no idea who is hiding under that hood. Up there, the troublemaker completely loses it and screams at the top of his lungs, demanding to know the name of the jerk who ruined his rep. Instead of helping, the other students just mock the whole situation, whispering about the ridiculous defeat of the school's top oppressor. Dying of embarrassment from all the gossip, the tough guy struggles because he can't remember his executioner's face due to how fast the attack was. The only blurry memory left in his head was the exact moment a hooded guy grabbed his clothes like a savage. Despite the humiliating knockout, the troublemaker closes his eyes, seething with rage, knowing he's never going to forget the terrifying aura of that secret fighter. Flashing back to the moment of the attack, the bully realizes the mystery attacker smelled heavily of milk on his clothes. Blinded by rage, he shoves past the other students in the hall, desperate to find the culprit no matter what. Without hesitating, the troublemaker kicks open one of the classroom doors violently. He looks into the empty room and notices there's only one person sitting inside. The MC is just chilling at his desk, flipping through a book like absolutely nothing happened. Staring at the kid, the attacker grits his teeth, completely full of rage. With that, he kicks Cheolmin's desk hard and accuses the kid of reeking of milk all the way down the hallway. Faking obedience, the untouchable teen just lowers his head and apologizes for the mess. After reading the room, the blonde guy instantly drops his suspicion, thinking it's literally impossible for a pathetic loser like him to have thrown him to the ground. The delinquent remembers the other students laughing, tasting the bitter reality of getting humiliated in public. Annoyed at how cowardly the surprise attack was, he promises himself he'll find the culprit no matter what it takes. Venting his own frustration, the tough guy grabs Cheolmin's hair super aggressively. Suddenly, teacher Hosseon spawns at the classroom door, totally shocked by what's going down. So the woman immediately calls out the raging kid to shut the drama down. Next, the vibe shifts as time skips forward, showing the quiet front of the school. Right as the shift ends, a bunch of students start heading out, walking through the exit courtyard. Some girls are walking and chatting about the hooded guy, fully believing he definitely goes to this school. The image of the secret vigilante with the hoodie over his head is locked in everyone's brains as something insanely cool. Overhearing the chatter from afar, teacher Hosseon gets totally hyped, remembering how precise the fighter was. Absolutely fascinated, she blushes and admits to herself that the hero's moves were out of this world. Meanwhile, Cheolmin is walking super nervously, just wanting to vaporize from that spot immediately. But his stealth plan fails when the woman yells, suddenly grabbing his attention. She walks up fast and asks if the kid doesn't recognize her from somewhere. Trying to play dumb, the MC just replies that she's the new staff member who just transferred. The young woman leans in curious, explaining that she meant they had already met a really long time ago. Super excited, she points at a sticker on his backpack and recognizes the logo of her late dad's old gym. The student confirms the old record, saying he was going to take the sticker off anyway since he had no reason to go back there. At that, he asks why a pro-level athlete suddenly decided to become a high school teacher. Letting out an awkward laugh, Hosseon scratches her head and makes up an excuse that she just wanted to try something new in life. A quick second of awkward silence hangs between them in the middle of the sidewalk. Changing the subject, the woman turns on the charm and holds out her hand, hoping they can be on good terms from now on. Being super polite, the kid shakes his old training partner's hand, giving a slight buh. Without many other options, the two start walking side by side down the same route to head home. Letting out an exhausted sigh, the teacher notes that the kids around here definitely have a ton of personality. She puts her hand to her forehead, looking drained, but quickly pivots back to the topic that's living rent-free in her head. Flashbacks of the fluid takedown replay in her mind, leaving the fighter amazed by the pro-level technique. If the former master was still around, she is 100% sure he'd go crazy and label that student as a massive prodigy. The young woman thinks it's surreal that such a chaotic school is hiding someone with skills that polished. Thinking about the hooded hero's mysterious aura, Hyeon decides she's going to track him down no matter what. The walk stays quiet down the empty neighborhood streets. Nearby, Dorian's ghost floats next to the MC, hyping up his own daughter's smarts. Annoyed by the unwanted tag-along, the kid asks why the entity doesn't go bother his own family instead of him. Giving off an intense blue glow, the master points his finger, reminding him that the student is literally the only one who can see him here. Getting right up in the kid's face, the ghost praises the sick team-up they pulled off earlier. Annoyed, the kid just thinks there was zero teamwork involved, considering the spirit literally hijacked his body. Trying to defend himself, the former champ points out that he protected his daughter while the kid humiliated his bully, proposing a formal deal. Surrounded by intense energy and literal flames, the ghost offers to hand over world-class techniques in exchange for test driving that body. Absolutely disgusted by the nonsense offer, Cheolman declares he's not some rental apartment to be used like that. Right then, unknown footsteps speed up behind the student's back. The blonde bully spawns with his crew, calling out the kid for mumbling to himself like a total psycho. Caught off guard on the street, the MC stutters, dying of fear from the random ambush. Holding up the ditched hoodie, the troublemaker announces he found a massive clue about the guy who jumped him in the hall. A flashback shows the attacker tearing the school apart, completely obsessed with finding his target. He traced the secret hero's escape routes, wondering where someone would sprint off to that fast. Knowing the school was constantly under construction, the teen figured anyone could have used the windows to bail. The bully scoped out the exterior of the construction zones, hunting for any dropped clues. During this relentless manhunt, he noticed that the window in their own classroom was the only one left unlocked. Staring Cheolman down, the blonde demands to know if the kid saw anything. Sweating bullets and panicking, the untouchable teen completely freezes when asked about being in the classroom. Internally screaming because he thinks he got busted, the student gulps and tries to deny seeing absolutely anything. Out of patience, the troublemaker grabs the kid by the collar and tells him to stop stuttering, suspecting he might be the attacker. Before things go south, the teacher crashes the chat, catching the bully totally off guard. She steps right in the middle of the guys looking dead serious, asking why they haven't gone home yet, scaring the kid. Backing up a bit, the problem kid complains, annoyed that he has to deal with the nosy staff member. Capitalizing on the distraction, Hyeon whispers to Cheolmin, asking if he remembers the exact address of their old gym. Keeping her voice super low, the woman tells the teen to sprint there as fast as humanly possible the second she gives the signal. Totally shocked by the on-the-fly strat, the student just nods on autopilot. A few seconds later, reality finally hits him and he freaks out, realizing what the teacher is planning to pull. On the flip side, the blonde cracks his knuckles, giving off a dark vibe and getting ready to start a brawl right there on the spot. Screaming at the top of her lungs, the fighter's eyes go wide as she orders the kid to run right now. The duo sprints down the street at breakneck speed to ditch the angry mob. Boiling with rage when he sees them bailing, the attacker points his finger and orders his goons to catch them no matter what. An insane chase kicks off in the middle of the neighborhood, with the gang of thugs sprinting after their targets. The MC runs for his life alongside his new teacher, just trying to survive. Pure chaos takes over the block as the sprint drags on with zero end in sight. The frantic hunt keeps going as the duo scales the building stairs as fast as they can. Right behind them, the squad of delinquents rushes up the steps, showing zero signs of dropping the chase. Super aggressively, the gang busts through the entrance door to the upper floor, hunting for their victims. The bully tries to catch his breath while scanning the room, looking furious. Right then, they realize they are standing inside a martial arts center, where the teacher is just chilling waiting for them. Completely terrified by the setup, Cheolmin stutters, trying to figure out what kind of place this is. Stretching her arms, Hyeon mentions she told him she works a different job now, but clarifies she never once said she stopped training. The student just watches the mob surround the duo, getting a bad feeling this is about to escalate. Tying her hair back so it doesn't get in the way, the woman shifts her stance and declares this is officially no longer a street fight. Staring the delinquents dead in the eyes, she makes it crystal clear that right now, this is strictly a sparring session. Ready to go, the fighter steps onto the mat and lays down her number one. Dropping into a fighting stance, the teacher demands they understand once and for all that this is a legit sport. Hovering behind the MC, Dorian's ghost laughs, thinking his daughter's idea to lure the attackers here was absolute genius. Thinking the deal sounds great, the gang leader cracks his neck and agrees to the woman's terms. The troublemaker flashes an evil smirk, super hyped about the chance to beat up a teacher while being protected by the rules. Without wasting a second, the entire gang rushes in to jump Halcyon all at once. Ducking fast, the fighter grabs the blonde bully's ankle with insane precision. Using this flawless move, she drops the gang leader onto the mat with zero effort. Capitalizing on the opening, the woman rolls across the floor, pulling off a complex move to keep the combo going. Staying constantly on the move, she's already controlling the legs of another goon who tried to swing. Switching stances instantly, the teacher locks in a vicious ankle hold on the rival. Unable to defend himself, the guy screams in pain as he gets completely immobilized on the floor. Right after that, another thug tries to sneak a cheap shot at the fighter's back, but she dodges the rush effortlessly and already has the rival's arm locked in midair. Using the opponent's own momentum, she slams him straight into the ground super hard. Keeping the pace ridiculously fast, the athlete keeps rolling across the mat with crazy good technique. Right then, she pulls off a tough guard pass and takes the back of another crew member. One more attacker tries to rush her, acting out of pure panic after seeing his bros getting dropped. Staying completely chill, the teacher chokes out the kid she already had pinned and dodges the new attack. The squeeze on the submission is brutal and makes the rival pass out in seconds. Seeing his boys on the ground, the last attacker tries to keep his balance to strike. Moving fast, the fighter kicks his support leg out while perfectly blocking the other one. The impact sends the troublemaker flying onto his back on the mat, shutting down his attack attempt for good. Sweating like crazy after the intense brawl, the teacher takes a deep breath to recover. Watching the whole thing, Xiaomin notices the ghost looking insanely proud, seeing that she wiped out the squad using strictly jiu-jitsu. The MC is mind-blown by his old partner's ability to fold that many opponents completely solo. Outside the gym, the defeated gang's screams of pain echo all the way down the street. In one of the back rooms, a coach wakes up from his nap super annoyed by the racket. Rubbing his head, the guy tries to figure out why there's a literal riot happening in his workspace. Right then, the door flies open, and he gets the shock of a lifetime when he sees what's going on. Freaked out, the coach rudely asks who the woman is that just busted into his spot. But he recognizes her almost instantly, and has no idea what's happening in his own training area. Holding the gang leader by the collar, Halcyon says what's up to the guy and shows off her brand new students. Terrified because he just got completely stomped, the owner of the place begs for mercy, swearing the boys won't cause any more trouble. Letting out a laugh to lighten the mood, the fighter nods and lets the beat-up kid go. Acting super casual, she asks if the crew wants to grab some food after practice. The gym coach is totally stunned by the crazy mood swing. A little bit later, everyone ends up sitting in front of a small local diner. Chilling at the table, the teacher and the MC share a meal with the exact same thugs who just tried to jump them. With her mouth full, the woman excitedly points out that sports really do bring people together. But the troublemakers are just frozen in their seats, absolutely terrified of the new teacher's physical power. Shaking with panic, the boys hold their cups acting like the most obedient kids ever. Raising her glass, Halcyon proposes a toast, hoping everyone stays cool with each other from now on. With zero option to say no, the defeated teens clink their glasses, accepting the forced peace treaty. By late afternoon, everyone says peace on the street after the most awkward meal of the gang's life. The fighter waves with a huge smile at the delinquents, who walk away with their egos totally shattered. Turning to the student, she flexes super proudly, saying she genuinely thinks the kids loved her class. With a sweat drop on his face, Xiaomin just wonders in what alternate universe that would be true. Silence takes over the empty street as the duo gets ready to head back to their own homes. A bit further down, the gang leader is walking furious about being humiliated and tells his goons to shut up, warning them he's got a new scheme brewing. One of the goons steps up wanting to know what their next move against the staff member is going to be. The blonde bully flashes a psycho look, making it crystal clear this beef is far from over. Far away from there, the two students from the old training center are just taking a chill walk home. Xiaomin tries to give his older partner a heads up, asking her not to get her hopes up too high about the problem class. He then asks if the woman knows the real reason the high school has such a weird name. The teen explains that the school was founded by a foreign religious guy who cared deeply about youth crime. The kind dude's original master plan was to cram all the problematic students into one place and try to fix them using pure kindness. The biggest glitch is that the daily routine got so out of hand that even the missionary himself gave up and fled the country in terror. Digesting the tragic lore, Hasyan decides the old principal was weak and was super dramatic for just running away. Clenching her fists tight, the teacher swears she will never abandon her students, no matter how bad things get. Acting sarcastic, the kid pretends to hype up the hero arc, but suggests she start bracing herself for the worst-case scenario. Walking again, he warns her that starting tomorrow, that gang's payback is going to get way more violent. Shocked by the kid's cold warning, she repeats the words, confused about being targeted by new attacks. But her athlete instincts kick in harder and the young woman smiles confidently, practically daring the students to test their luck. Darkness finally takes over the lit-up city, wrapping up the rookie teacher's first exhausting day on the job. Walking all alone, Xiaomin finally makes it to his apartment building hallway late at night. Out of nowhere, the kid's walk gets completely cut off halfway down the hall. With wide eyes, the student realizes a massive detail he had totally forgotten about. He realizes the troublemakers would never just let the embarrassment slide, finding the entire gang standing right at his front door next to his mom. Flashing a cruel smirk, the blonde leader makes it clear he will never quit until he proves he's better than the MC. The kid's mom spots him in the hall and looks at him with a super sweet smile. Shaking with anxiety, the teen just whispers his mom's name, completely mind-blown by the setup. Using sign language, she sweetly tells him that his classmates came over to hang out. At that, the bully gets right next to the kid's ear and aggressively asks why he didn't mention his mom's disability. The MC grits his teeth, boiling with rage, but he literally can't do a single thing against the bully. Whispering again, the blonde declares this is payback for him bailing with the teacher earlier and demands they go inside to see what good stuff they have. Clueless about the tension, the woman signs again, inviting the whole squad in to eat with them. Pretending to be the ultimate bestie, the troublemaker throws an arm around Xiaomin's neck and accepts the invite, claiming they're starving. The kid tries to jump in terrified, wanting to tell his mom that the situation is absolutely not what it looks like. To shut down the convo, the bully flashes a creepy smile and tells him to walk inside quietly before his mom ends up paying the price too. Catching the weight of the threat, the student starts sweating cold, completely cornered. He clenches his fists as hard as he can, dying to just punch that coward right in the face. His legs start shaking uncontrollably in the apartment hallway. The kid realizes in full panic mode that his own body is rejecting movement because of the insane fear he's feeling. Right behind him, the jiu-jitsu master's ghost glares at the attacker with pure fury and is disgusted by the teen's disrespectful vibe. Completely unaware of the danger, the mom stays standing near the doorway waiting for the boys to come in. The bully lets out a fake laugh, joking that his buddy is super shy and touched by their visit. Trusting the fake act, the woman smiles warmly, thinking the whole scene is adorable. Staring at the MC's mom, the troublemaker feels deep disgust and insults her in his head for smiling like that. He starts poking at Xiaomin again, making fun of his mom's disability and claiming he views the kid in a way worse light now. Without stalling, the blonde violently yanks the student by his clothes to force him into the apartment. Suddenly, a massive guy spawns out of nowhere, delivering a devastating flying kick right into the attacker's chest. With the brutal hit, the bully is sent flying and skids across the hallway floor. The kid's mom covers her face, completely horrified by the brawl that just exploded. The rest of the gang just stands there frozen, unable to believe their leader just got folded onto the floor. Standing there looking massive, the man stares at the dropped troublemaker and admits he just can't stomach this kind of disrespect anymore. The kid's stepdad drops a threatening warning that if he still had his old temper, he would have snapped the teen's ankles in half. Nursing his injuries on the floor, the bully thinks the enemy is just talking a big game and gets up full of rage. Ignoring the red flags, he rushes in, promising to show what happens to people who get cocky just because they work out a little. With unreal ease, the older man catches the attacker's face mid-swing and shuts down the rush instantly. The blonde gets lifted off the floor with zero effort, left absolutely terrified by the rival's monstrous strength. Super ticked off, the MC's stepdad wants to know which idiot is starting drama right outside his front door. The rest of the gang's goons notice the massive dragon tattoos covering the guy's neck and chest. As soon as he gets dropped in the hallway, the troublemaker takes a step back in fear, realizing he messed with the wrong family. In pure panic, the rest of the squad turns their backs and sprints away so they don't get destroyed too. In a matter of seconds, the apartment hallway is completely empty after the cowardly kids ran off. Quiet takes over the area, leaving only the kid, his mom, and the stepdad who is holding some grocery bags. Flipping to strict mode, the tattooed guy turns his head and starts looking his stepson up and down. The untouchable teen just lowers his head submissively, already bracing himself for another brutal lecture. The vibe gets super tense as the adult locks an accusing glare onto the teen. Breaking the silence, the stepdad lets out a sigh and asks the woman to hurry up with the food because he's starving. The mom steps close to the open door and signs for her son to come inside quick to eat with them. However, the door shuts and the kid is left alone in the hallway staring at the door to his own home. Eaten alive by failure, he throws a full-power punch straight into the building's concrete wall. The student rests his head on the concrete, feeling deep rage at his own powerlessness. Nearby, the ghost master apologizes for not stepping in, explaining that he tried to let it play out for as long as possible. Having a mental breakdown, the teen screams at the top of his lungs that he is a total loser. The blue entity gets shocked by the kid's explosive outburst. With tears streaming down his face, Jialmin cries about doing absolutely nothing, even while watching his mom get disrespected right to his face. He cries facing the wall, disgusted that he just stood there shaking in fear while taking the insult like a coward. The kid explains that even though his mom is deaf and nonverbal, she is perfectly capable of reading the room super clearly. It's obvious to him that the woman totally understood the malicious intent behind the bullying, but just pretended not to notice to dodge a bigger mess. Unable to carry the guilt, the boy drops to his knees on the hallway floor while the ghost looks at him with pity. The crying won't stop, triggering a flashback to the time he first joined the old martial arts center. A memory from the past shows young Jialmin chatting happily with the legendary teacher while he was still alive. In the flashback, the great champ lets out a confident laugh and swears he's going to turn the shy kid into an absolute fighting machine. Snapping back to the present, the boy lifts his tear-stained face full of focus and demands the old instructor keep that promise right this second. The spirit is pretty stunned by the sudden request. Immediately after, the MC declares that he doesn't give a crap anymore and gives the master permission to do whatever he wants with his body, even if it pushes him to the absolute limit. Jialmin stares the ghost down with total resolve and begs to be morphed into a ruthless fighter. In response, the entity points a finger and asks if the kid thinks real life is a comic book where problems get solved with magic. Fists clenched, the student lowers his head, admitting he can't keep living such a pathetic life anymore. Getting serious, the spirit warns that if his only drive is emotional payback, the kid should just drop the idea because he teaches martial arts, not reckless thug behavior. The boy stays quiet for a second, making the champ think he doesn't have enough confidence to handle the grind. To poke the bear, the kid brings up the rumors about the tragic reason behind the master's passing, and sarcastically says legends should be real. The taunt hits the fighter's ego dead on, and his eyes go wide, completely insulted by the brat's audacity. Without a second thought, the ghost charges full speed into the student's body to take the wheel. Jialmin's eyes glow bright right at that exact second, as the blue energy hacks into his mind once again. With his arms radiating insane power, the teen tries to stabilize while the possession forces his muscles to move. In a snappy motion, the kid's body drops into a rock-solid, technical fighting stance right in the middle of the hallway, officially kicking off his real training. Freaked out by the spirit's sudden takeover, Jialmin covers his face, completely confused. Boiling with rage over the taunt, Dorian screams about the drug rumor and swears he always hated that kind of garbage. The master clears up that he was framed by some scumbag who made up the whole lie to ruin his legacy. Flashing back to the past, he explains he had just stepped out to grab some ice cream when some thugs tried to start beef in the middle of the street. In the memory, the champ is seen sitting on top of the defeated teens in the rain, noting that he taught them a lesson without even having to use much force. However, the ghost explains that the gang leader couldn't hold the L and decided to strike back with a cheap shot right after. Caught entirely off guard, the fighter got absolutely blindsided by a speeding car while he was just trying to enjoy his dessert. Dropped on the wet pavement, he admits he blacked out and can barely remember anything after the hit. The only piece of evidence left in his brain was the blurry image of a green car speeding off with a busted license plate. On top of that, the face of the purple-haired attacker named Chon got permanently burned into the late teacher's memory. Back in the present, the entity states with absolute conviction that he needs to find the guy responsible for setting up the whole trap. Listening to the tragic lore, the MC stays quiet, soaking in all the crazy new info. Right then, the kid lifts his head looking like he just had a big brain idea to solve the problem. He proposes a direct trade, offering help to clear the fighter's name since he got such a rod. To seal the deal, the student offers to lend his body for the manhunt in exchange for exclusive combat training. Breathing a heavy sigh, the ghost asks if the kid thinks learning how to fight is as fast as making instant ramen. However, the former champ flips his tone, signaling there's a catch. Flashing a super confident smile, he promises that things are totally different when it comes to his teaching method. The ghost then asks if the teen can handle the grind, warning that his one-on-one training will be beyond brutal. Without hesitating for a single second, Jialmin nods, showing he is 100% locked in on the goal. Happy with the kid's resolve, the ghost smirks, agreeing to the unexpected team-up. Sealing the paranormal pact, the two bump fists, radiating intense blue energy. The next morning, the sun lights up the front of the problematic high school, marking the start of yet another day of classes. Teacher Hasian swings the classroom door open with tons of energy, wishing her class a good morning. As soon as she lets go of the handle, she realizes someone jammed sticky gum into the lock on purpose. Reading the room, the woman just laughs it off and assumes it's just cute kid payback. Keeping up the polite vibe, she walks into the room teasing the students for loving to play around so early. But the teacher ends up tripping a thin wire strung near the floor as a trap. Instantly, an overflowing bucket tips over from above straight toward the wide-open door. The freezing water blasts the young woman violently, ruining her outfit and instantly vaporizing her chill mood. Trying to keep her cool, the fighter forces a laugh and points out that the trap was super predictable. With zero warning, an eraser packed with chalk dust smacks her dead in the face, causing an explosion of grime. Capitalizing on the moment, the squad of troublemakers rushes in with water guns and chucks random objects, yelling to keep the attack going. Completely covered in dark dust, the teacher freezes in place, feeling her sanity snap all at once. An ear-piercing scream of pure rage blasts through the school windows, terrifying random people walking outside. In the staff lounge, the other employees cover their ears, totally shocked by the terrifying sound. Seeing his coworker's pathetic state, Jialmin quietly asks if she's doing okay. Radiating literal demon energy, the woman turns her filthy face looking terrifying and asks if the students think this is a joke. Floating next to the kid, the professor's ghost holds back a laugh, thinking his own daughter's reaction is hilarious. With zero trace of self-control left, the teacher lets out a desperate roar of absolute fury. Venting her frustration, she throws a devastating punch that shatters the classroom chalkboard into 1,000 pieces. The MC and the ghost stand frozen, watching the surreal display of physical power. With a dead serious look, the young woman mutters, wondering what she'd need to do to this bunch of disrespectful brats. Super nervous, the student just reminds her that he literally warned her the day before to brace for the worst. Unable to stomach this much disrespect this early in the morning, the educator screams at the top of her lungs again in the middle of the chaos. Shaking the building's foundation, the woman lands another brutal strike on the wall, sending the entire class into a panic. With her eyes glowing red, she warns them they have 10 seconds to come up with the perfect way to fix this mess. Sweating cold, the untouchable teen feels massive killer intent coming off her, exactly like a pro athlete ready to throw down. Amidst the panic, the kid's focus gets pulled to a flyer pinned on the busted bulletin board. His eyes go wide as he locks in on the note, looking like he just found a beacon of hope in the dark. The scene shows an old poster recruiting members for the school's ukulele club. Flashing back to a conversation, the teacher looks frustrated about the lack of fun extracurriculars at the school. Jialmin also remembers the time she declared that street fights would turn into sparring sessions run by her. Connecting the dots, the MC quickly realizes they can fix the issue by starting an officially sanctioned fight club. Hearing the genius suggestion, the teacher's dark vibe totally flips, showing massive hype for the kid's idea. A little bit later, the scene cuts straight to the principal's office door. The old principal holds a rushed flyer with a sloppy drawing, recruiting students for a brand new jiu-jitsu club. Super hyped, the fighter promises she'll use the program to level up the kids' fitness and fix their attitudes. Highly skeptical of the plan, the older man asks if it's actually possible to tame that mob of troublemakers just through workouts. Chilling on the couch, the vice principal points out the obvious red flag of teaching martial arts to teens who already love starting fights. Defending her plan passionately, the woman explains that the sport lets you subdue opponents without causing serious injuries, making it the safest option. Refusing to back down, the lady with glasses claps back, saying that whether people get hurt or not, it's still physical combat. Trying to cool down the debate between the two, the principal rubs his head, looking for a polite way to reject the request. Suddenly, a massive crash interrupts the chat as a student gets launched into the room's glass window, shattering it. The school admins jump up, totally baffled by the violent entrance. Through the busted window, a thug spawns, trash-talking the victim on the floor and intimidating anyone watching. Total chaos owns the courtyard, with tons of students brawling in the open like it's just a normal Tuesday. The group of staff members stands frozen, staring at the level of violence that just hijacked the school. Terrified of what his own school has become, the principal flips his decision instantly and tells the teacher to launch the program right now. Catching the massive W with the forced approval, the fighter clenches her fists and embraces the challenge with total confidence. Fast forward to later that day, the scene shifts to the outside of the school's massive gym. Chilling on the bleachers in the huge empty space, the MC waits patiently right in the middle of the room. Calm footsteps echo across the wooden floor, grabbing the lonely kid's attention. The student looks up, super impressed by the person who just walked in. Rocking a sleek dark fighting gi and flexing her highest rank belt, the teacher gives a scary smile, asking if he's ready to hunt for new recruits. Replying to the summons, The untouchable student mutters that he never agreed to join this club, but the educator orders him to drop the complaints and just tag along. The reason for the complaining quickly becomes obvious as it shows a janky piece of paper taped to the table, advertising the hunt for members for the brand new jiu-jitsu club. The school courtyard is an absolute ghost town, with heavy wind blowing while the two wait around for new students. Xiaomin asks if she genuinely believes anyone is gonna show up, reminding her that the kids here barely even go to regular classes. The teacher looks drained and replies, saying they've only been waiting for 4 hours and telling the kid to chill out. Suddenly, the dead silence of the courtyard is broken by heavy breathing and fast footsteps cutting through the wind. The two whip their heads around, totally intrigued by the guy who just pulled up. A student dressed in a bizarre fit rocking a ninja mask and a kendo chest guard stops in front of the sign-up table, radiating massive confidence. Without saying a single word, the teen slams his hands down hard on the edge of their table. Using the leverage, he pulls off a gymnastic flip and spins in the air in a super dramatic way. The landing ends with a heavy thud on the ground, kicking up dust like it's some kind of epic superhero entrance. Scanning the situation, the fighter notes that the kid doesn't even know how to breakfall properly, while the MC realizes exactly who it is. Xiaomin recognizes the masked guy by his nickname, Samurai Park. The kid breaks down that the teen is Korean-Japanese and claims to be completely self-taught in multiple martial arts, including capoeira and karate. Kneeling on the ground in a dramatic pose, the student flexes his ego while his classmate finishes the resume, adding that he also studied Jeet Kune Do by himself. The teacher looks highly confused and repeats the phrase about the kid learning everything so. Keeping a straight face, the MC just confirms the info with a nod. The masked kid looks up super intensely and chimes in, declaring he acquired all his knowledge exclusively from the internet. The student's real name, Park Minjai, gets dropped, completely ruining the intimidating vibe he was trying so hard to project. Still trying to process the absolute nonsense, Hosseon wonders how someone becomes a fighter just by watching videos online. She thinks, totally horrified, that she's looking at one of those mythical keyboard warriors who only exist in online forums. As the teen gets up and dusts off his clothes, the teacher wonders why he's wearing kendo armor to train in unarmed combat. Minjai aggressively wipes his hands on his pants, trying to keep up his persona as a ruthless master. With a dead serious look, he officially announces he's joining the jiu-jitsu squad. Looking at the rookie, the fighter just dies a little inside, noticing that even the way the kid talks is super cringy. Trying to be nice, she asks if he's ever done any actual physical exercise in his life, pointing out that his landing a second ago was super clunky. The masked kid clasps his hands together and replies, claiming he doesn't care about coward tactics because he forged his body into steel so he doesn't feel pain when he falls. With zero tolerance for the cap, Xiaomin quickly points out that the teen crumpled like a dry leaf when he hit the ground earlier. Determined to fix this mess, the teacher realizes she'll have to teach the absolute basics from square one to a guy who thinks the fundamentals are just a trick. Pretty confident in her new mission, she holds out a friendly hand toward the weird student. Officially welcoming the kid, Hosseon greets the newest member of the jiu-jitsu club. Minjai accepts the greeting by shaking the teacher's hand, locking in his spot in the bizarre club. The scene quickly cuts to the inside of the school's massive gym, which is now set up for the club's activities. Standing dead center in the room, the teacher announces the start of their first ever class and suggests they kick things off with a fun little game. The MC repeats the word game looking confused, while the masked teen looks locked in on the idea. The fighter explains the basic rule: whoever scores the most takedowns gets the W, and the loser has to do one favor for the winner. Looking super focused, she adds that they are cleared to use absolutely any moves they need to win the challenge. Ready for the showdown, the masked student nods, looking dead serious. In his head, Minjai sees this as the ultimate chance to flex his fighting skills, even though he thinks fighting a woman isn't much of a flex. Treating the drill like a life-or-death battle, the teen bends his knees and channels all his energy into lowering his center of gravity, thinking he's literally an immovable object. Seeing this stance, Xiaomin gets massive secondhand embarrassment and just freezes. Super stealthily, the teacher's hand reaches the self-proclaimed master's shoulder before he even realizes it. In one crisp, lightning-fast motion, the woman hits a foot sweep that launches the rookie straight onto the hardwood floor. Super hyped about the clean sweep, she points forward and claims the first point for herself. Sprawled out on the floor, Minjai yells, totally offended, calling the move a cheap shot and complaining that he got hit while he was still getting ready. Right as he finishes whining, the masked guy notices his rival's hand touching his shoulder again. The teacher calmly drops a reality check, saying a real enemy is never going to wait for him to get ready in the middle of a fight. Capitalizing on his lack of focus, she grabs the kid's clothes and hits an insane throw right over her own shoulder. With zero chance to defend himself, Minjai gets launched through the air, completely losing control of his own body. Right as he hits the floor, the fighter reminds him that he was the one who agreed that tactics didn't matter in this game. Extremely annoyed by the embarrassment, the teen announces he's now going to unleash every single martial art he studied during his career. The boy brings his hands together in a technical stance, getting ready to lock in on the duel. Back in a fighting stance, the rookie tries to project the same dangerous vibe from when he first pulled up. Completely unfazed by the pose, Hossein just takes a deep breath and asks what else he learned from scrolling the web. Switching up the strat, Minjai decides he's going to go all in on speed instead of keeping his center of gravity anchored. The student starts zooming across the mat, trying to mimic super fast footwork. But the second he charges in full force, the teacher simply sidesteps and drops him to the floor with a basic trip. The teen jumps up furious, but the woman just grabs his arm and hits another flawless takedown immediately. The massive skill gap becomes obvious as the teacher has the time of her life, tossing the student all over the room over and over again. Showing total dominance, she executes a picture-perfect hip toss, launching the kid with zero struggle. Capping off the absolute beatdown in style, the woman hits a sick foot sweep that sends her rival flying through the air. Mid-flight, the ninja mask slips right off the kid's face because of the brutal impact of the fall. With his face finally exposed, Minjai is shown sweating cold and gasping for air non-stop. The student lands flat on his back on the gym floor with his arms spread out, completely gassed out and too weak to even stand back up. Squatting next to him, Hossein points out that the score is currently negative 186-0 for him, finding it insane that he had no clue how to fall properly on a single attempt. The teacher breaks it down that in any combat sport, especially jiu-jitsu, a competitor is going to get dropped hundreds or thousands of times. The defeated teen listens closely as she states that instead of trying to turn your body into steel or only wanting to attack, there's one thing that matters way more. Dead serious, the fighter declares that he has to learn the right way to fall before doing anything else, which is exactly why breakfalling is the foundation of everything. The kid is absolutely mind-blown, absorbing these truth bombs that just nuked all his previous beliefs. Right then, Minjai hits a literal epiphany, finally understanding how heavy that advice really is. Touched by the harsh truth, the self-proclaimed internet fighter almost tears up. Despite being completely exhausted, the teen gets on his knees, touching his forehead to the mat, and accepts the advice, calling the teacher master. Caught off guard by the dramatic bow, the woman lets out an awkward laugh, wondering if she really became a master that fast. Snapping back to her normal vibe, she calls time on the takedown drill, happy with the lesson she just handed out. Immediately after, the teacher's confident hand moves to touch the teen, ready to kick off the actual physical conditioning. To start the game, Xiaomin taps the head of the rookie lying on the floor. Teacher Hossein is stunned by her own student's audacity. Without skipping a beat, the MC points out that she lost the lid and he just claimed first place. Annoyed by the disrespect, the fighter complains that the kid just played dirty. Using her own words against her, the teen reminds her that the enemy isn't gonna wait and demands his prize for winning. Right then, a yell echoes through the gym, ordering everyone to shut up because of the racket. The teacher turns her head and realizes there's someone else chilling in the room. The group is completely shocked to see there was a teen sleeping in the gym bleachers. Woken up by the noise, the student named Chu Ganghan sits up and stares down at the crew. Recognizing who's on the court, Ganghan says what's up to the MC, mentioning it's been a minute since they saw each other. Freaked out by the setup, the untouchable kid just stutters a greeting back. Not getting why he's so nervous, the woman asks who the guy is that just woke up. Minjai volunteers to handle the situation, but the teacher asks why he's hiding behind her while trying to act tough. Still hiding, Xiaomin warns her that that kid is extremely bad news. The MC explains that Ganghan is straight up the most dangerous student out of all the freshmen at the school. Up top, the rookie stares down at the commotion on the court, looking completely unbothered. Locking eyes with the teacher, the teen notices she's rocking a fighting gi. Super hyped, he guesses the squad is running some kind of cool drill. Without hesitating, the student jumps straight off the highest section of the bleachers. The impact with the floor is heavy, but the kid sticks a flawless landing without getting a single scratch. Evaluating the crazy jump, Hossein admits the kid has top-tier athleticism. Ganghan walks closer asking if they're doing judo, and the woman clarifies that it's jiu-jitsu. Taking advantage of his curiosity, she casually drops an official invite for him to join the school club. Dripping with sarcasm, the teen mentions he's heard about that sport where people just roll around, implying all he'd have to do is kick his enemy to win with zero effort. The fighter lets out a cold laugh hearing the weak trash talk. Trying to flex, the student warns her that plenty of people have caught hands for crossing his path. The teacher holds eye contact without showing even a millimeter of doubt. The teen notices her unbreakable confidence and realizes the woman isn't rattled easily. In her own head, the teacher figures that folding the boss of the students will be the perfect excuse to finally establish some order in the whole school. Keeping her cool, she repeats that the sport requires pairs and drops the invite again. Ganghan rejects the offer immediately, making it obvious he has zero interest in learning from people beneath him. Taking the disrespect in silence, the teacher shows total confidence, staring the kid down. Without stalling, she takes off her jacket so she can move better on the makeshift mat. Adjusting her belt, the woman suggests a friendly spar between the two of them right then and there. Pointing her finger, Hasyan lays out a bet where he becomes the club president if he scores 1 point, but he has to deep clean the whole gym if he loses. The challenge hits the student's ego, and he looks incredibly hyped for the match. Tossing his neck pillow on the floor, the student agrees to play the game by her sport's rules. The fighter asks the MC to act as the ref, getting a super hesitant nod from the kid. Dropping into a starting stance, the woman stretches out her arm, explaining how the traditional martial arts bow works. Both rivals step up to kick off the physical showdown. Mutual respect is locked in with a quick high five. Standing dead center, Chialman checks to make sure they're actually both ready to go. With a quick chop of his arm, the makeshift ref signals the start of the match. Ganghan rushes in with an incredibly explosive attack. Trying to secure a fast W, he throws a straight rush that the teacher easily sidesteps. Grabbing the rival's arm, the teacher recognizes the classic judo grip and confirms he has real combat experience. Deciding to test the rookie, she switches her stance to gauge the teen's stand-up skills. Using the momentum from his rush, the woman pulls off a super clean shoulder throw. But the student reacts instantly, twisting his own body midair on the way down. Showing insane body control, the teen lands on his feet without getting dropped. The teacher is impressed by the kid's core strength, admitting that's elite athlete-level skill. Watching from the sidelines, the master's ghost confirms the teen is a legit judoka. The MC explains that his classmate competed officially in national judo tournaments until he finished middle school. A flashback shows the kid fighting like a total beast, proving he's got massive experience competing all over the country. Back to the current match, Ganghan exploits the gap and grabs the fighter from behind. He quickly adjusts his legs to make sure his next move is completely locked in. Using perfect leverage, the teen launches his rival using his legs. The woman gets tossed super hard toward the gym floor. But the teen notices the outcome wasn't what he expected and wonders if she anticipated the fall herself. Bragging a bit, Durian mentions he always made his daughter cross-train in different styles to master stand-up before focusing on groundwork. A quick flashback shows the young competitor trading brutal strikes in old tournaments. Landing solidly on the floor, Hasyan proves she can handle throws without panicking at all. Both keep their distance, breathing heavy while sizing up the situation. Recognizing the kid's skills on the feet, the teacher decides it's time to bring her actual main advantage to the ground. With a precise attack, the woman grabs the rival's gi and throws herself backward, dragging him down with her. The student loses his balance, totally confused by her sacrifice tactic. From the outside, the MC starts breaking down the rules of the sport, while Minjai freaks out over the violence. The untouchable teen explains that in jiu-jitsu, a competitor can attack and defend with the same efficiency, whether on the ground or standing. He keeps explaining, saying the person on top has to pass the defensive guard to score points in the match. On the flip side, the person on the bottom gets an advantage by sweeping the rival and taking the top position. On top of that, Chialman points out that anyone can end the match instantly by locking in a direct submission. The masked rookie listens to all this looking exhausted, thinking that lore dump is way too much to process right now. Back to the brawl on the makeshift mat, the fighter's leg locks tight onto the rival's leg. Using high-level tech, the woman sets up a complex guard to shut down the teen's movement. The grip on his legs gets tighter, leaving the student totally trapped under the teacher's control. Desperate to break loose, the judoka lifts the teacher off the ground, trying to smash her grip at all costs. Capitalizing on the lift, the teacher hooks the rival's leg and drops him to the floor again. With a spectacular transition, the woman rolls across the floor and takes the student's back flawlessly. Doing his job as ref, the MC raises his arm and announces she just scored 4 points. Sprawled on the ground, the teen looks completely confused and asks why the points were awarded like that. The untouchable teen patiently explains that jiu-jitsu has a totally different rule set from other combat sports. He breaks down that passing the guard and securing side control instantly gives you 3 points. Right after, the kid adds that mounting the rival's chest secures another 4 points on the board. Wrapping up the lesson, the makeshift ref concludes that taking the enemy's back also grants maximum points. Holding her dominant spot on his back, the teacher casually asks when the teen bought that outfit. To make it worse, she drops a super sarcastic comment, saying she was just worried she might end up stretching the fabric out during the fight. Right then, the freshman leader's eyes go wide, realizing the imminent danger he just walked into. With zero mercy, the fighter yanks the gi collar with full force and locks in a brutal choke on her rival. With the submission perfectly sunk in, the woman suggests the kid tap out quick before he ends up passing out entirely. Way too stubborn to quit, the judoka grits his teeth, trying to fight through the insane pressure, refusing to take the L. Unable to breathe, the kid's vision slowly starts fading to black because of the extreme choke. The gym ceiling gets blurry as he completely burns out his energy to keep fighting. A flashback hijacks the teen's mind, showing him looking super depressed while holding a video game controller. In the memory, the kid's dad is shown drinking alcohol and drops a harsh lesson, ordering him to never bully weaker people. Taking a sip, the older man lays down the law that if his heir ever wants to throw hands, he should always pick a fight with someone stronger. Finishing the lecture, the dad pats the head of the boy, who is listening in total silence. Snapping back to reality, the teen wakes up terrified after taking a heavy slap straight to the face. The student opens his eyes completely dazed, finding the teacher staring down at him. Super confident, the woman calls the match and officially declares her victory via submission. Cashing in on their previous bet, the teacher hands the loser a mop so he can clean the gym like they agreed. Still trying to process the absolute beatdown, the teen grips the mop handle, staring at the floor without saying a single word. Overwhelmed by intense frustration, the boy spikes the item onto the gym floor in pure rage. He looks up furious and asks if the fighter is happy she won using rules that completely favored her. Caught off guard by the lame excuse, the woman just reminds him that he was the one who agreed to fight that way. Instantly, the teen freezes, realizing he just embarrassed himself even more with that baseless complaint. The teacher keeps staring down the rebellious student, calmly waiting to see what his next move is gonna be. Suddenly, the teen's face shows the physical toll of the brutal match he just lost. Panicking about his condition, the judoka slaps his hand over his face super fast, trying to hide the injury at all costs. Worried about the kid's state, the teacher touches his shoulder, suggesting they head straight to the school nurse. Totally mortified by the L, the student sprints away at top speed, bolting out of the training room. Mid-sprint, the teen rips off his gi top and chucks it on the floor, angrily complaining that the gear got completely ruined. The woman watches the kid's rapid escape, realizing he genuinely felt the heavy consequences of his actions. Internally, she respects the enemy's insane toughness for choosing to pass out rather than tapping to stop the fight. Turning back to the other teens, the teacher celebrates the hype first day, completely ignoring the MC who still refuses to officially join the club. A bit later, the massive doors to the school gym are busted wide open. The fighter turns her head with a confident smirk, looking like she already knows exactly who just walked in. Giving off his classic blue aura, the professor's ghost praises his own heir's strict attitude with the brand new members. The former champ hypes up the MC's genius tactic, who defends himself by saying the whole club idea blew up way past what he planned. Looking at the W, the ghost validates the move, remembering that this is exactly how the sport got famous back in the day. Flipping into coach mode, the ghost calls the kid over for his first solo session, while the teen just lets out a totally exhausted sigh. Without stalling, the spirit glares at the student demanding immediate obedience, and asks what the absolute first step of any physical training is. Trying to keep up with the intense pace, the untouchable teen guesses, sounding a bit unsure, that they should probably start with warm-ups. The former master flashes a terrifying smile confirming the answer, leaving the teen horrified about what's about to drop. In the blink of an eye, the spirit charges in full force and hijacks the MC's body without asking for permission. The student's body takes a sudden jolt as his eyes shift, proving the forced takeover was a success. Puppeted by the ghost, the kid talks to the teacher like a robot, announcing he's going to clean the entire room solo because he's just so hyped about the sport. Locked inside his own mind, the teen goes into full panic mode hearing that absolute nonsense coming out of his own mouth. Totally amazed by his supposed drive, the teacher praises the student and hands him the cleaning gear with a massive smile. Moving weirdly, the spirit snaps the handle of the mop in half, leaving only the base, and robotically announces he'll only use the rag to clean. Watching the bizarre scene, the two fighters are stunned by the unhinged strat of cleaning a massive gym like that. It makes zero sense. The MC's body tucks the rag into his clothes, while his actual consciousness dies inside from the pointless embarrassment of sinking this low. Without wasting a second, the spirit starts using the kid's back to scrub the floor, hitting the classic hip escape motion. Moving at a crazy pace, he drags himself across the entire room, thrashing on the ground in a non-stop, exhausting ground movement drill. Keeping the insane routine going, the ghost switches it up and starts rolling over his shoulders to mop another section of the floor. Thinking this dedication is a bit much, the teacher gets super curious, wondering since when that shy kid loved fighting this much. Continuing the surreal cleaning session, the student's body mimics an ape walk, dragging the cloth all over the room. Inside the host's head, the old coach demands more hustle and orders the kid to endure the grind, reminding him he's the one who begged to get stronger. Nearby, the masked student clenches his fists, swept up in his feelings after seeing his teammates' weird behavior. Completely misreading the situation, the rookie thinks this whole scene is an extreme solo willpower test meant to evaluate him. Refusing to take the L in this silent competition, the teen grabs another cleaning rag and starts scrubbing the floor like a maniac, screaming that he won't lose. The teacher flashes a slightly nervous smile, showing she's got a bad feeling while watching these two act like absolute lunatics on the school floor. In the middle of the absolute chaos, the fighter's focus is suddenly grabbed by an item tossed in a dark corner. The freshman leader's dirty jacket is still lying near the edge of the training mat after the kid's embarrassing escape. Trying to be nice, the teacher picks up the jacket, thinking she needs to return it to the rightful owner. As she folds the thick fabric, she notices a super colorful piece of paper that slipped out of the pocket and hit the floor. Curious about the random document, the woman studies the flyer trying to figure out what the dropped ad is even about. The image hypes up a late-night party spot, making the teacher super suspicious about what kind of places this teen is sneaking into. Flipping the scene, night finally takes over the city as the defeated judoka walks alone down the busy neighborhood sidewalks. Flexing a cut on his face, the teen mutters angrily, replaying the massive public embarrassment he suffered in the training room just a few hours ago. Determined to vent his bottled-up frustration, the kid picks up his pace looking dead serious, entirely focused on his next stop for the night. Thinking back to the takedown, Chu Ganghan realizes the teacher didn't use raw strength during the throw, understanding that her tactic was totally different from anything he knew in judo. The memory of the flawless chokehold rushes back to his mind, showing the exact moment he got folded with zero chance to fight back. Trying to shake off those thoughts, the judoka decides to ignore his bruised ego and just focuses on surviving the night shift, gripping the club flyer. He adjusts his outfit and takes a deep breath to chill out the built-up stress. But a second later, the teen aggressively crushes the flyer in his hand, still haunted by the sting of that public embarrassment. Getting back on track, the kid's footsteps echo down the street as he locks in on his destination. Suddenly, the teen stops dead in his tracks and holds his breath when he notices an unwanted presence right in front of him. An older woman points her finger at him and screams, demanding to know if he is really Chairman Chu's. Rewinding slightly before this whole mess blew up, the sun was already setting on the horizon, lighting up the messy school's facade. The school day finally wraps up with a bunch of students walking chill through the courtyard toward the exit gate. Walking with the teacher, the untouchable student points out that she and the bully seem to have a lot of history and asks about their lore. Flooded with memories, the fighter explains that the two of them used to be an awesome duo all through elementary school. But she adds that the kid completely flipped his personality the second he hit high school. Her old buddy started hanging out exclusively with the most toxic delinquents in the neighborhood, even though he never actually acted rude to her directly. This new lifestyle ended up building a massive brick wall between them, completely ruining the friendship they used to have. Thinking about the kid's physical power and background, the teacher guesses he's definitely not just another random rebel at the school. Right then, a loud engine rev grabs the woman's attention, making her turn her head looking curious. Super hyped, the teacher flags down a motorcycle cop cruising down the street, jokingly calling him a tough guy officer. Ignoring the excited greeting, the guy just keeps rolling on his patrol down the street looking super chill. But the officer slams the brakes on his bike a second later. The cop drifts the back tire on the pavement, pulling off a highly dangerous move just to bust a U-turn. With insane precision, he parks the heavy bike right next to the teacher on the sidewalk. Ripping off his helmet looking absolutely furious, the guy accuses the woman of disrespecting the law with her jokes. Dripping with sarcasm, the fighter teases that the uniform gave him an ego boost, reminding him that she always cooked him in sparring, forcing the guy to demand respect off school grounds. Completely flipping her vibe, the teacher drops the jokes and says she needs to handle some serious business with her old buddy. Cutting back to the dark street, the older woman screams again, confirming the judoka's identity. The lady stomps over boiling with hate, demanding updates ASAP on where the kid's dad ran off to. Turning his head super annoyed by the tension, the teen snaps back harshly that he has absolutely zero clue where the guy is. Panicking, the creditor grabs the kid's clothes demanding her money back, warning that her whole family will end up homeless because of that massive scam. Feeling the weight of the drama happening in public, the student grits his teeth, completely burning through whatever patience he had left. The older woman keeps pressing the teen, calling his whole family deadbeats and demanding he at least pretend he's looking for the guy. Totally enraged, the teen yells that he already said he doesn't know anything and argues that the actual scammer bylaid with all the cash. Right then, the creditor's husband steps up, demanding the kid show some respect for cursing at his wife like that. Blinded by hate, the judoka bends down fast and grabs a heavy cinder block that was just lying on the asphalt. Gripping the item tight, the teen strikes an aggressive pose, ready to do something crazy to the couple. The couple of creditors backs up terrified when they see the student's unhinged level of violence. Pointing at their luxury car parked nearby, the thug suggests they just sell the whip if they need money that badly. The teen drops a brutal threat, swearing he'll completely trash the car if the two of them don't back off right now. Realizing the danger is real, the guy pulls his wife away so they can dip, complaining about how trashy that violent teen's manners are. The second the couple turns their backs, the freshman boss tries to catch his breath while sweat drips down his face. The stress finally drops, and the block slips out of the kid's hand, slamming heavily back onto the sidewalk. Mentally exhausted from the whole show, he decides to head inside the beat-up building where he lives these days. As soon as he walks in, his apartment's mailbox is literally overflowing with late bills and final notices. The situation gets even worse when he hits his own front door, finding it completely plastered with threatening notes left by debt collectors. Consumed by anger, the teen aggressively rips the taped papers off the door in a pure fit of rage. Walking into the dark, messy apartment, the kid announces to his grandma that he's finally home. The dining table shows a rough reality, covered in empty food containers and a soda bottle right in the middle. Scanning the depressing room, he asks with a bitter voice if the older woman skipped eating again just to drink that junk. The cramped space reflects the massive struggles the family has been facing ever since the scandal completely nuked their lives. Right then, the teen's phone buzzes with an alert telling him it's time to start his new night shift job. Checking the dress code requirements, the student locks in, determined to make bank no matter what it takes. Without even taking a second to chill after a chaotic day, the judoka fixes his shoes, ready to face the night shift. The second the teen throws on the security suit, his relative's weak voice echoes, asking for his attention. The older woman appears leaning on a cane, completely disoriented and begging to go back to her real house. Feeling his chest tighten with anxiety, the kid replies distantly that their old home doesn't exist anymore, telling her to go eat something. The room's door clicks shut right after, leaving the older lady all alone in her own mental fog. A bit later, the scene cuts to the flashy front entrance of the nightclub. In the staff-only area, the teen is introduced to the head of security by a coworker. The bald supervisor checks out the rookie with an intimidating glare, praising the kid's build and asking if he has any real fighting experience. The coworker quickly jumps in to vouch that the teen competed in judo, nudging the kid to show some respect to his new boss. Swallowing his entire ego, the freshman boss bows submissively in front of the supervisor. The shift kicks off fast, and the dance floor is shown totally packed with clubbers jumping non-stop. But the peace doesn't last, because a physical brawl breaks out in one of the VIP sections of the party. The radio clipped to the teen's suit goes off with a direct order, telling him to go shut down the mess at table 5. Moving fast, the student steps into the middle of the fight, trying to separate the people who are hurling brutal insults at each other. The chaos levels up when a guy violently yanks a girl's hair right in the middle of the screaming match. Out of nowhere, the fight turns into a surreal scene when the two troublemakers suddenly start making out super aggressively. Watching that random madness, the teen freezes, trying to process what in the world is happening. Before he can even figure it out, a woman runs past begging to be let go. A massive guy traps the employee against her will, complaining that her attitude is gonna look bad for the club's bosses. The woman screams for the other bouncers to help, but the staff just watches the scene without stepping in. Annoyed by the rejection, the entitled VIP shoves the woman away, promising to punish her if she keeps complaining. Rejecting that absolute garbage behavior, the teen charges in and grabs the heavy guy's arm with insane reflexes. Keeping a rock-solid stance, the rookie bouncer suggests everyone just chill out right there on the spot. Playing hero triggers the guy's rage, and he tries to rip his arm away, screaming about the new employee sticking his nose where it doesn't belong. With an unbreakable grip, the teen security guard locks down the VIP's arm hard to stop him from attacking the employee again. Noticing the red flags, the coworker drags the kid to the side, reminding him he's underage and literally isn't allowed to draw attention under any circumstances. The bald coworker explains that the VIP guests fund this entire place, and because of that, everyone has to follow their orders. Taking the scolding in silence, Chu Ganghan sports a furious look, showing he's completely disgusted by the biased rule. Taking advantage of the distraction, the entitled client violently yanks his arm away, breaking free from the kid's grip. Furious about getting interrupted, the guy grabs the bald coworker by the collar, screaming and asking if that rookie employee wants to get embarrassed in front of everyone. Right then, a guy rocking shades and long hair pulls up ordering everyone to chill, making the veteran bouncer immediately beg for forgiveness when he realizes it's the head of the VIPs. Reading the older bouncer's panic, the VIP boss smirks, quickly figuring out that the teen is just a total rookie on the squad. Keeping his arrogant vibe, the guy holds out a massive bill as a tip for the kid. Caught totally off guard by the move, the student grabs the cash and stares at the guy, completely confused by the vibe. Flashing a cruel smirk, the VIP asks if he needs to teach the rookie employee exactly what to do when he gets a gift like that. The rich guy points his finger dead straight at the terrified employee and orders the kid to slap her right then and there. Looking down at the kid, the guy in the suit notices his hesitation, clearly seeing the teen's total lack of experience in this kind of environment. To push him into doing the cowardly act, the guy pulls out a massive stack of cash from his pocket and offers it as a bonus for the dirty work. Gripping the massive wad of cash, Ganghan's eyes widen slightly as he processes the insane amount of money he just got handed. Doubling down on the ruthless order, the guy in shades asks again if the kid needs a tutorial on how to act. The rich dude points at the woman again and demands the attack happen immediately with zero stalling. With pure toxicity, the VIP warns that he'll double the payout if the teen strikes the employee twice in a row. Faced with the insane offer, the judoka sweats cold, completely paralyzed by the pressure of the moment. Staring at the stack of bills, the kid calculates in his head that this much cash would be enough to pay off his family's overdue rent for 2 solid months. The boss of the VIP section lets out an excited laugh and pressures the teen, asking if he's really only going to hit her once. Totally torn, the boy looks away, feeling the crushing weight of his money problems. The bouncer slowly turns his body toward the employee, who backs up terrified against the club's wall. Eaten alive by guilt and feeling powerless, the student bites his lip trying to make an impossible choice. But his protector instincts scream louder, and he holds out his hand, choosing to hand all the money back to the rich guy. With a dead serious look, the teen makes it clear he has zero intention of attacking innocent people just for a paycheck. Without any warning, the bald coworker steps in front of everyone and delivers a brutal slap right to the girl's face. After the shady move, the veteran bouncer steps next to the teen, taking the wheel of the critical situation. The coworker gathers the stack of cash and bows humbly, begging the rich guy for forgiveness and promising the team will be trained properly. Gripping the cash, the veteran bouncer keeps an ice-cold posture, proving he'll do absolutely anything for the VIP. Absolutely furious about the interference, the guy in shades rudely asks who told the veteran bouncer to step in. The bald worker gulps and stays completely silent, taking the insult with his head down. Trying to kill the tension, the veteran raises his arm, signaling his own security team to stand down. Instantly, the VIP's goons step up furious, asking if the club staff want to start a war. Playing it safe, the bald bouncer orders his partners to back off, reminding them they're dealing with top-tier guests. Whispering right in the rookie's ear, the older guy begs the teen to just hit the girl quickly and do his job. The boy turns his head and watches the injured employee leaning against the counter in absolute despair. Flashing a dark look, the judoka takes a breath and says if things have gotten to this point, he has no other choice. The young woman's eyes go wide in pure terror, fully believing the new employee is actually going to assault her. Moving violently, the student grabs a thick glass bottle that was left on the table. In a flash, the bouncer raises the bottle and swings his arm, launching a devastating attack with the item. The brutal impact hits the VIP dead in the head, leaving his goons completely stunned by what they just saw. The bald coworker goes into total panic mode, asking what kind of psycho move the kid just pulled on the boss. Glaring at the injured target, Ganghan orders the employee to escape from there immediately, warning her that the VIP section is about to turn into a war zone. Super terrified of the incoming brawl, the woman just stutters a nod and gets ready to run out of the room. Before she even gets the chance to dip, one of the goons blocks her path, arrogantly warning her that she isn't going anywhere. Watching the enemies move over his shoulder, the teen mutters in frustration, realizing the thugs aren't gonna back down. With a bloody face from the hit, the VIP boss screams furiously, ordering his goons to put the bouncer on his knees right in front of him. Following the order, one of the thugs charges full speed at the young judoka to kick off the fight. Exploiting the sloppy rush, Ganghan controls the rival and hits a flawless throw right over his shoulder. With zero chance to defend himself, the attacker gets launched through the air and smashes hard into a glass table in the lounge. But the lead doesn't last, because another goon spawns from the side and lands a clean kick right in the kid's ribs. From the heavy hit, the student loses his balance and skids backward, feeling the sting of the cheap shot. Determined to hit back, the teen quickly grabs another bottle off the nearest table. In an intimidating move, he smashes the bottom of the glass item against a hard surface with crazy force. Holding the shattered bottle like a blade, the kid rushes forward with a dead serious look, ready to deal a lethal strike. The extreme move completely freaks out the VIP boss, who lets out a shocked yell when he sees how unhinged the rookie employee really is. Out of nowhere, a steady hand spawns and grabs the student's wrist before he can use the sharp weapon. The grip cancels the attack instantly, making the bottle slip from the teen's hand and shatter on the floor. Totally thrown off by the interruption, the teen turns his head shocked, trying to see who blocked his hit. The guy who grabbed his arm is a random dude, escorted by a woman, who peacefully warns that stabbing someone with glass would end in massive legal trouble with the cops. The guy's partner looks exhausted and notes that he didn't come to the club to party, but to actively hunt for more work. The judoka blinks in absolute silence, not understanding where these two people spawned from in the middle of a brawl. The VIP points an angry finger, demanding to know who the nosy guy is and ordering him to get lost. Scanning the crew, the mystery guy immediately recognizes the gang of thugs who used to post videos flexing online. In his head, the newcomer calculates that blowing his cover as an undercover cop would just make things worse, deciding to stall for time until backup arrives. Trying to chill the room, the detective raises his hands with a friendly smile and asks everyone to calm down. To explain why he stepped in, the cop throws an arm around the teen's neck and makes up a fake story that the kid is his stubborn little brother. Keeping the act going flawlessly, the guy winks at his partner and tells her to get the injured employee out of the room. Hearing the insane lie, Ganghan is completely mind-blown, asking himself where this family lore even came from. Refusing to buy the excuse, one of the goons steps to the cop, asking who gave them permission to let the woman leave. With zero patience, the thug grabs the detective's hand super hard, throwing a blatant physical threat. The detective squeezes the rival's hand right back with a confident smile, daring the tough guy to settle the beef face-to-face with him. Whispering to the teen next to him, the cop admits he won't be able to hold them off for long and orders him to run away fast. Catching the disrespect, the VIP's goon breaks the grip and charges in, throwing a heavy punch at the detective. With a snappy move, the undercover cop dodges the straight punch thrown by the thug. Using the attacker's own momentum, the detective grabs the guy's suit tight. Then he also locks down the guy's wrist to make sure he has total control of the situation. Without giving him any window to defend, the detective launches the thug through the air with a perfect judo throw. The impact is brutal as the goon's body slams violently onto the VIP lounge floor. Noticing the chaos, another crew member rushes in from behind holding a bottle to attack. But the cop's partner spots the danger and quickly pulls out a spray can. The woman blasts pepper spray right in the attacker's face before he can even swing. Without missing a beat, she jumps and lands a precise knee strike straight to the blinded thug's head. The power of the hit sends the guy flying backward, totally knocked out. The attacker's body drops hard, smashing one of the glass tables in the room. Acting fast, the woman grabs the teen by the arm and tells him to dip from the club while the VIP tries to process what's happening. The trio sprints up the club's stairs to escape the riot that just popped off. Watching the whole thing from a distance, the bald bouncer is frozen in shock, having no clue what to do. Right then, his radio buzzes with someone screaming desperately on the other end. Outside the club, the commotion grabs the attention of people who are hiding nearby. The MC watches the whole escape from afar, rocking a beanie and glasses to hide his identity. Suddenly, a homeless guy grabs the kid's attention, scaring him in the middle of the alley. The guy walks up chill and asks if the teen has a lighter he can borrow. Super uncomfortable, the student replies by pointing out that it makes zero sense for a minor to be carrying something like that. Ignoring the snappy comeback, the older man just covers his face and lies down right there, announcing he's going to sleep. Taking a deep, annoyed breath, the untouchable teen complains in his head about why this guy chose this exact spot to take a nap. Meanwhile, the judoka and the two cops keep sprinting at max speed up the exit stairs. But a heavy footstep suddenly blocks their path. The trio stops running instantly when they run into a roadblock on the sidewalk. A squad of suited bouncers blocks the way, complaining that the rookie is already starting riots on his first day of work. The head of the squad says in a rude tone that he got strict orders to drag the teen back inside. Knowing there's no peaceful way out, Ganghan drops into a fighting stance, ready to brawl. The suited men slowly surround the boy to make sure he doesn't escape. Heart racing, the student sweats cold, feeling the intense pressure of throwing down with multiple enemies at once. Without blinking, the teen moves first and grabs the head bouncer's clothes. Using all his explosive energy, the kid hits a devastating attack, launching the massive guy onto the ground. But the lead is short-lived because another goon spawns from behind, locking the judoka in an arm choke. Determined to break free, the teen winds up for a fast backward elbow strike. The hit catches the attacker flush, forcing the guy to break the hold. At that exact second, two other bouncers rush in and grab the kid's arms from both sides to pin him. Capitalizing on the opening, the squad leader gets up and throws a punch with zero mercy. The heavy hit connects with terrifying brutality. The impact to the kid's ribs is so severe it causes unbearable pain in the area. Unable to hold his breath, the teen coughs up fluid and lets out a scream of pure agony. The student drops to his knees on the pavement, clutching his chest while desperately trying to catch his breath. With absolutely no mercy, the suited leader starts repeatedly kicking the down kid. The entire squad gangs up to jump the rookie employee in the middle of the empty street like total cowards. The detective's partner tries to step in but gets grabbed by one of the guys, screaming at them to stop. Ignoring her begging, the main attacker keeps stomping on the teen, who has 0 ways left to defend himself. In the middle of this cowardly beatdown, the undercover detective tries to sneakily pull his phone out of his suit. He grips the phone, ready to call for police backup and end the fight once and for all. But the head goon spots the move and violently slaps the phone out of the guy's hand. The bouncer stomps the device into pieces on the pavement, destroying any chance of calling for help. Right after, the massive guy yanks the kid's hair while he's on the ground and mocks them, asking if they were planning to call the cops. The guy in the suit yells that he knows the kid's age and asks who he thinks is gonna be in deeper trouble if the law shows up. With a busted face, the freshman leader struggles to breathe, trying to endure the weight of all this humiliation. Keeping up his arrogant vibe even while defeated, the kid sneers, asking if the guy who hires minors shouldn't be penalized just as bad. Suddenly, the attacker jumps back when he notices a mysterious silhouette crouched right next to him on the sidewalk. The intruder is wearing the homeless guy's beanie and green hat, but has one eye glowing bright blue, proving he's under spiritual possession. Thinking it's just a nosy beggar, the bouncer yells, ordering the smelly guy to get lost immediately. Replying to the insult, the MC controlled by the master grabs the tough guy's sleeve with insane precision. Using a drag tactic, the hooded hero yanks the massive guy's balance forward. Capping off the attack, he hits a flawless sweep on the rival's exposed legs. The squad leader completely loses his footing and gets launched backward without understanding what hit him. Trying to protect the boss, another crew member rushes in and grabs the hooded hero from behind. Exploiting the attack, the secret fighter rolls across the pavement, dragging the attacker down with him. The duo drops to the street, but the kid's possessed body already has total control over the rival's leg. With a picture-perfect lock, he executes a ruthless ankle lock, bending the goon's joint. The brutal pressure forces the bouncer's ankle, causing massive damage to the area. Unable to take the agonizing pain, the guy in the suit lets out a blood-curdling scream in the middle of the sidewalk. Watching his partner get folded, a third thug runs furiously at the MC to strike back. Super chill, the hero adjusts his green hat and gets into a stance, waiting for the rush. The attacker throws a high kick, trying to take off the masked fighter's head. With supernatural reflexes, the student ducks slightly and dodges the strike without breaking a sweat. Taking advantage of the completely open guard, he blasts the rival's support leg with a powerful sweep and drops him to the floor. Right after, the fourth goon tries his luck, throwing a straight punch aimed at the kid's face. The jiu-jitsu fighter blocks the hit instantly and grabs the suited guy's arm. In one fluid motion, he drops to his back, planting his foot on the enemy's stomach, and pulls off a gorgeous circle throw. The bouncer's massive body goes flying and smashes brutally onto the hard ground, ending the fight in seconds. Watching the brawl, Ganghan is absolutely stunned by the skills of the hooded hero who spawned out of nowhere. But the security squad doesn't back down, and the rest of the crew charges furiously at the stranger. Radiating that blue energy, the kid's possessed body hits a backflip and taunts the rivals, inviting all of them to fight. Annoyed by the disrespect, one of the goons steps up looking extremely threatening. Refusing to miss his shot, the thug rushes in fast, stomping hard on the pavement to close the distance. The attacker throws a fast combo, desperately trying to land a hit on the masked vigilante. With flawless reflexes, the jiu-jitsu fighter leans his body back in a perfect dodge. Capitalizing on the enemy being off balance, he grabs the guy's leg and immediately locks in a calf slicer. The violent pressure on the rival's leg causes a terrifying snap to echo down the street. Unable to endure the pain, the suited bouncer screams in absolute agony as he gets submitted. Ignoring their dropped partner, 2 more crew members run in desperately to strike back. Totally relaxed, the MC drops to the pavement and sets up a complex guard, tying up both enemies' legs at the same time. Using the perfect tactic, he rolls under the attackers, hitting a phenomenal double sweep. The combined move launches both heavy guys into the air, without giving them any chance to defend themselves. Immediately after, the kid already has back control on one of the goons in midair and locks in a tight choke. Watching that flex of pure skill, the judoka instantly recognizes how smooth the moves are. A flashback hits the teen's brain, reminding him of the exact second he got folded in the school gym just a few hours ago. Connecting the dots, he realizes in absolute shock that the unknown hero is using the exact same martial art as his teacher. Right then, the last bouncer left standing attempts a desperate rush toward the hooded hero. With immense peace, the possessed student ducks, slipping the straight punch like it's nothing. At that exact second, he controls the attacker's extended arm with a super tight grip. Using the rival's own momentum, the kid throws himself onto the pavement and locks in a flying armbar. The guy's elbow joint is hyperextended to the max by the flawless submission hold. The goon lets out a terrifying scream, feeling the full weight of the devastating move in the middle of the public sidewalk. The sound of pure pain echoes down the empty street as the freshman boss watches the absolute destruction of the squad. After finishing the job, the green hat fighter taunts the teen, asking if he enjoyed the show and ordering him to get lost. Confused, the injured teen asks who the hero is and why he got saved out of nowhere. Glowing with that intense blue aura, the ghost replies cryptically that even if he dropped the lore, the kid wouldn't be able to see him anyway. Suddenly, flashing police lights light up the judoka's face, warning them that the cops are rolling up. Spooked by the lights, the student turns his head and realizes the unknown hero has already vanished into the dark. Nearby, an officer steps out of the cruiser demanding explanations about the brawl in the middle of the street. The injured teen goes into instant panic mode, terrified of getting busted by the cops. Without hesitating, he turns his back and sprints away as fast as he can through the dark neighborhood. Meanwhile, inside the nightclub's VIP lounge, the suited client and his goons are all on their knees on the floor. Totally surrendered, the long-haired rich guy begs to know the identity of the dude who crashed their party. Super chill, the undercover cop reminds them that the criminals threw the first punch when he just wanted to talk. Trying to save himself, the gang leader admits he messed up and humbly begs to be let go. As a last resort, he offers a massive stack of cash, trying to bribe the detective. The cop stares at the money completely insulted, warning him that he loves cash but would never take dirty money from criminals. Exposed, the millionaire client is shocked and asks how the guy knew about the gang's real illegal side hustle. Right then, the rest of the club's staff point their fingers at the squad, accusing the thugs of abuse and assault. The situation gets even worse when the uniformed cop finally reaches the VIP section to take over the scene. Panicking over the riot, the bald security boss yells for proof and orders the officer to leave so it doesn't ruin his business. Faced with that, one of the clubbers from the party holds up their phone, announcing they recorded the entire assault on video. The footage clearly shows the exact moment the rich guy harassed the employee against her will. The videos on the phone prove the millionaire's toxic behavior that started the whole brawl. Making it worse, the recording also shows the exact second the security boss slapped his own employee just to keep the VIP happy. Sweating cold in the face of undeniable proof, the bald guy hears the officer tell him to save his excuses for the precinct. Out on the street, the police operation is fully set up at the club's entrance, lighting up the whole block. Trying to sneak away without drawing heat, the judoka gets stopped by a cop asking for a second of his time. The guy holding a clipboard asks if the teen works there and asks for his help answering some questions. Super nervous about the interaction, the kid starts stuttering, having zero clue how to dodge this problem. Out of nowhere, a woman's hand grabs the boy's clothes super hard from behind. The detective's partner drags the teen away, faking a scolding and making up a lie that he wandered off from her. The random move leaves both the student and the cop completely confused. Keeping the act going, the investigator drags the kid down the street, yelling that his mom was looking for him. The uniformed cop tries to stop them from dipping, reminding her that he was still in the middle of questioning the suspect. Acting fast, the undercover detective steps in, swearing the teen was just a lost student and had already been cleared. The interference works, and the area in front of the club is finally fully controlled by the cops. Far away in a dark alley, the MC finally takes off the stolen hoodie, taking a massive sigh of relief alongside the professor's ghost. A bit later, a text alert tells the judoka to head to the meetup spot they agreed on earlier. The teen walks into a basic local diner and gets called out for taking so long. Sitting at a table, the cop explains she had to run home to change into something more comfortable. A hot bowl of instant ramen with an egg is handed to the starving kid. Staring at the bowl, the teen stays completely silent, processing everything that went down that night. The cop notices his hesitation and asks nicely if he doesn't like that kind of food. Still suspicious of her motives, the student asks why he's getting all this help. He adds, admitting he doesn't get why a detective would go out of her way for someone she barely knows. Laughing with her mouth full, the officer casually mentions that she's just returning a favor. Flipping to a serious tone, she stares at the teen and declares she is 100% sure he was the hooded hero from the school. In her head, she links the kid's fighting skills to the rumors of the secret fighter who saved the school. Hearing that absolute nonsense theory, the freshman boss chokes and spits out his food completely shocked. Coughing non-stop, the teen tries to catch his breath while the cop asks what randomly happened to him. Right then, Dorian's ghost spawns behind the officer, laughing at his heir for still being so clueless about what's actually going on. Sweating cold over her wrong conclusion, the judoka wonders internally if their school even has that specific hoodie as part of the uniform. Breaking the awkward silence, teacher Haseon warns the kid he can keep playing dumb for as long as he wants. She says she realized his true skill level during their quick sparring match in the school gym earlier. With a focused look, the woman hypes up the student, declaring he has a legit gift for fighting. A quick flashback shows the old professor noting that anyone would recognize a talent like that, even if it wasn't him. The teacher then drops a tip for the judoka, reminding him there are plenty of ways to make money without needing to take sketchy night jobs. She explains that before he passed, her dad set up a specific program so young athletes could train without stressing over money issues. The system is based on tournament performance, where racking up points in competitions secures a full-ride scholarship. Keeping it friendly, Hosseon asks straight up if the kid accepts the offer to join the program. Hearing all these details, Chu Ganghan just lets out a sigh dripping with absolute sarcasm. Completely furious, the teen asks if the teacher thinks he's some kind of charity case looking for handouts. Totally caught off guard by the rude comeback, the woman takes a step back, not getting the sudden rage. Refusing to hold back, the freshman leader says he quit judo because he was completely sick and tired of that trash sport. A flashback hijacks the kid's mind, showing the time when he was actively competing in tournaments. He regrets wrecking his own knee joint training like an idiot while believing in a successful future. Making it worse, the memory also shows the exact moment his family was swarmed by angry debt collectors, demanding to know where the scammer went. The traumatic flashback keeps rolling, showing the teen's grandma collapsing hard onto the ground during the chaos with the loan sharks. Back then, the boy screamed in panic for the older woman, feeling like an absolute failure for not having the power to protect her. Snapping back to the present, the student jumps up from his seat and declares he will never mess with combat sports again. Right then, the detective who works with the teacher shows up carrying a plate of food and complains that they started eating without him. Pointing a finger at the kid, the undercover cop warns him that he got insanely lucky making it out of that nightclub without a scratch. The investigator notes he is entirely sure that at least one person in the crowd managed to record the whole brawl on their phone. A quick flash of the party shows the clubbers recording the chaos, reminding him that the mob refused to hand over the footage until the very last second. Completely ignoring the advice, Chu Ganghan turns his back and walks right past the guy in total silence. Annoyed by the lack of manners, the detective yells at the kid right as he walks out of the diner. Out on the dark street, the judoka walks with his head down while staring at his phone, which got completely smashed during the fight. The cracked screen mirrors the kid's frustration, until the detective's voice rings out noting that the woman from the club seemed to be into him. The guy shows a message on his own phone, where the rescued employee asked for the teen's number so she could pay him back for the save. Stopping in his tracks, the teen slightly turns his head and stares at the cop without saying a single word. With a heavier tone, the officer advises the kid to stop acting so reckless, warning him that pulling stunts like that will only end up cutting his life short. Pissed off by the advice, the freshman boss snaps back saying the guy knows absolutely nothing about him and tells him to stop being nosy. Watching the teen walk away, the detective makes a hand gesture and notes that people with the same vibe always end up running into each other. Letting out a nostalgic laugh, the officer thinks out loud, calling it ironic that an ex-thug ended up becoming a detective. Ignoring the shallow talk, the teen continues his solo walk down the dimly lit alley. Watching the kid leave, the older guy feels an intense, familiar aura suddenly appearing right behind his back. The massive figure of the former jiu-jitsu master flashes in the investigator's mind, confirming how much that angry teen reminds him of his own past. Heading back inside the diner, the officer sits at the table and admits to the teacher that he understands the heavy baggage and the wounded animal look the kid has. Changing the subject fast, the guy warns that the teacher needs to head down to the precinct to give her statement about the earlier brawl. The fighter looks absolutely mentally exhausted when she realizes the drama still wasn't technically over. Walking down the street, she mutters angrily, saying it's exactly because of this red tape that she hates getting into street fights. The next day, the freshman boss walks up a steep street carrying a heavy bag after classes are done. Reaching a quiet spot in the neighborhood, the kid pours cold water into an old bowl left on the ground. Next, he rips open a bag of dog food and fills another bowl while a brown dog watches him super hyped. To the teen's surprise, more stray dogs come rushing over, and he sarcastically asks if the dog made some new friends. The student pets a dark-colored dog on the head, sweetly asking if this spot became a meetup for mutts. Watching the starving animals eat, the teen realizes the first dog is just bringing along buddies who are in just as rough a spot as he is. The detective's comment about similar people crossing paths echoes loudly in the young student's head again. Digesting the advice, the judoka goes quiet, thinking about his own impulsive actions. Deciding to keep moving forward, the kid just sighs, accepting that he's going to have to make more cash to buy extra dog food. A bit later, teacher Hosseon walks into the school gym rocking a purple gi and announces the start of another club practice. Staring at her hype with total boredom, Chialmin asks why the school has more club time than actual regular class time. With eyes burning with rage, the woman screams that the reason is because those disobedient brats never pay attention in normal classes anyway. Out of nowhere, the heavy gym doors are violently thrown open, causing a massive crash in the room. The masked student Minjai spawns in the doorway gasping for air uncontrollably from extreme physical exhaustion. The weird kid drags a heavy object across the floor, making the MC wonder if it's some kind of punching bag. The untouchable student and the teacher both note that the rookie probably burned all his energy, just dragging the thing from his house to the school. Shaking from fatigue, the masked teen raises his arm and points his finger toward the hall. The two turn their heads curious to see who was hanging out with the weird student this afternoon. Wearing a flawless blue gi, Chu Ganghan walks into the gym and asks if it's cool to train in this specific uniform. Happy he came back, the teacher smiles and asks what made him suddenly flip his opinion after swearing he'd never fight again. Dropping his bag on the floor, the teen looks focused and replies that someone dropped some important truth bombs on him. The judoka explains he realized that people with similar mindsets are destined to run into each other eventually. The image of the green hat vigilante pops into the teen's head, making him confirm that the hero used the exact same fighting style. Full of focus, the kid promises he has no idea who the guy is, but he is completely sure the dude showed up because he recognized him somehow. Digging into his own memories, the freshman leader remembers a time when he was just an innocent kid. He vividly remembers watching major tournaments on TV and hyping up the energy of a true champion. The fond memory of that fighter drinking water cements the kid's old dream of becoming a massive champ in the fighting world. Snapping back to the present, Chu Ganghan grips his gi, convinced that if he keeps training in the club, he'll manage to run into the masked fighter again. Hearing his classmate's theory, Jiaomin starts sweating cold, absolutely terrified because he's the actual owner of that secret identity. Easing the tension, the teacher says the blue gi is totally fine, but recommends wearing something lighter for future sessions. However, the teacher hits a threatening pose, grabbing the handle of a mop right in the middle of the room. Pointing the stick at the rookie, she demands he follow through on yesterday's bet, asking if he actually thought she forgot about the punishment. Cornered, the kid just looks away and lets out an exhausted sigh of pure defeat. In a weird flex, the woman tucks the rag into her own clothes and demonstrates how to clean the floor by dragging herself using ground movement techniques. Holding his mop, the teen stares at the teacher's insanity without showing the slightest intention of joining in on that nonsense. Meanwhile, the MC and the masked kid are already collapsed on the gym floor, completely wiped out after a long session of that crazy cleaning. Sweating from exhaustion, the MC stares at the situation wondering if this is really how the club is going to operate. Minjai throws on his dark ninja gear and taunts the new student to rush him full force. With zero warning, a hand grips the masked kid's clothes insanely hard. The weird teen lets out a yell of shock as sweat drips down his face. Radiating dark energy, teacher Hasian holds up a wooden stick, ordering the two idiots to help out during the drill session. Watching the squad from afar, Chu Ganghan sighs with zero hype and asks himself if he really has to train with these losers. The teacher quickly announces that they're done with repetitive drills for now. Super strict, she lays down the law that from now on they'll start doing live sparring and emphasizes the goal is to practice without injuring their partner. To kick off the session, the fighter points her finger and picks the MC right off the bat to go first. Turning her head, the woman suggests the judoka act as the kid's sparring partner. Chiao Min is absolutely terrified by the setup, knowing the fight is totally unfair since he knows his rival used to fight at a pro level. Noticing his partner's fear, the freshman boss taunts him, asking if he's already scared, pretending to be just a fragile rookie. The untouchable teen gulps, severely doubting his own ability to handle an enemy with that much experience. But he quickly takes a breath and tries to get his confidence back, remembering he still has a secret weapon. Locked in on the incoming match, the kid narrows his eyes, mentally bracing for what's about to happen. Stretching his arms confidently, the untouchable student announces out loud that he's ready to go. Durian's ghost spawns right behind him and asks, totally confused, if the kid was talking to him. Flexing his blue glow, the master insults the kid, calling him a fool, and explains that the prep right now is entirely on the kid's shoulders. With a harsh look, the spirit asks if the brat forgot that he hates shortcuts and orders him to fight on his own. The MC feels an instant chill, completely terrified, realizing he's been left to fend for himself. Noticing the weird behavior, the teacher asks if everything is under control, and the kid plays it off, claiming he was just warming up. The teacher extends her arm in the middle of the gym, telling the duo to get ready. With a quick chop toward the floor, she yells, officially starting the mat. Without wasting a single second, Ganghan rushes in with insane speed. The judoka reaches out and grips the rival's gi right near the collar. Caught off guard, Chiaomin feels the pressure instantly and realizes his partner's physical strength is on a completely different level. Trying to survive the pressure however he can, he squints and decides to just focus on keeping his balance at all costs. But the highly experienced enemy adjusts his grip flawlessly to launch his attack. Using his leg as leverage, the freshman boss executes a perfect throw and launches the kid through the... The crash is unavoidable and the MC slams his back brutally onto the gym mat, letting out a groan of pain. From the sidelines, the teacher screams, demanding the downed student lock his guard immediately. The spirit pops up next to the kid, telling him to chill out and ordering him to tie the enemy up using his legs. Operating on pure instinct, the student lifts his feet and wraps them around the rival's hips. He locks his legs tight and manages to secure a perfect closed guard. Still nervous on the floor, the kid opens his eyes wide, trying to remember what his next move is supposed to be. Staring down at the kid, the judoka looks extremely annoyed by the boring defense. Using raw power, the teen literally just stands up, dragging his sparring partner right up with him. The teacher is stunned by the move, instantly realizing the experienced kid's dangerous plan. The freshman leader lifts the boy even higher, getting ready to slam him violently onto the floor. Pausing the match instantly, the woman grabs the attacker's arm and warns him that slamming is strictly banned under jiu-jitsu rules. She points to the space between the kid's legs, explaining that the correct move is trying to pass the defensive guard. Demonstrating the motion, the fighter shows that the actual goal is to safely get past the rival's defense. Resetting to the starting positions, the teacher decides they're going to run it back one more time. With another official call, the woman restarts the match in the middle of the school gym. The ghost professor tells the kid not to just lay there without a plan, telling him to push the enemy into an advantageous spot. The blue entity orders the MC to pull the rival into his guard the exact second the fight starts. Sweating from anxiety, the teen nods mentally, knowing his only real chance to survive this is by fighting on the ground. On the other side, Ganghan keeps a focused look, showing massive confidence for the next round. The two rivals bring their hands close to do the traditional bow for the sport. The quick slap of hands locks in the mutual respect before the drill kicks off again. Right after the touch, the untouchable student pulls his leg back super fast, looking for a safe distance. Looking incredibly focused, he rushes in, trying to put his plan into motion. But the judoka reads the move and controls the kid's arm in a flash. Spinning his body, the highly experienced enemy hits another devastating throw. The teacher and the masked kid watch the scene in shock, unable to believe how bold the move was. Watching the kid get launched across the gym, the ghost regrets missing a huge detail about his own student. A flashback shows the day the kid walked into the old training center for the first time. Even surrounded by a bunch of other kids, the shy boy always managed to stand out to the instructor in a unique way. The entity's eyes go wide as he realizes the massive flaw holding the kid back in fights. Failing to pull guard, the MC's body smacks the gym floor hard once again. Surprised by the crash, the judoka is confused by the enemy's total lack of defense. The boy tries to crawl backward terrified, while the professor sadly concludes that the kid literally has zero talent for this sport. Watching the disaster unfold, the teacher facepalms, completely frustrated with the student's performance. The ghost crosses his arms, looking stern after watching that embarrassing display of combat. Watching his enemy try to escape by scooting his butt on the floor, the freshman boss asks sarcastically if he thinks he's some kind of street performer. Terrified, the teen backs up and the spirit yells, ordering him to set up a defensive guard right this second. Capitalizing on the weakness, the enemy rushes in violently and jumps on top of the downed kid. The untouchable student lets out a muffled groan when he feels the weight of the rival crushing him. The judoka flashes an ice-cold look and warns him that his fighting style also includes dangerous chokeholds. Maintaining dominant side control, the teen pins the MC with heavy top pressure. The attacker's arm wraps around the kid's neck and head with relentless force. He shifts his body weight to crush his sparring partner's ribs with absolutely zero mercy. The pressure on the submission is so intense it feels like it's going to snap the kid's ribcage. Unable to breathe, Jialmin's face turns bright red and he starts coughing in pure panic. Overwhelmed by the unbearable pain, the student's hand taps the mat frantically, signaling he's quitting the match instantly. Out in the courtyard of the massive gym, the brutal training session finally comes to an end. Jialmin walks across the yard staring at the ground, feeling completely crushed by his own embarrassing performance. Right then, his partner Ganghan walks up and grabs the kid's shoulder, asking if he's upset about getting folded like that. Being totally honest, the untouchable student denies it and admits he lost simply because he absolutely sucks at the sport. The judoka's eyes widen slightly, looking pretty surprised by how blunt the answer was. Wanting to understand better, the teen mentions he already suspected his partner was weak, which is why he tried not to go too hard during the fight. But the freshman boss immediately drops a taunt, saying the kid managed to be even more pathetic than he originally thought. Jialmin forces a weak laugh, pretending to take the insult as a joke. Flipping his vibe instantly, the rebellious teen gets furious and asks if the kid thinks the situation is funny. Without waiting for an answer, Ganghan ignores the MC, looking at him with absolute disgust. Making it worse, another bully student tosses a sweaty shirt right in the kid's face, ordering him to hold it. The boy just takes a heavy sigh, silently accepting yet another toxic moment in his daily school life. Holding his own belt, the student complains that this insane level of pressure and disrespect is exactly why he quit sports back in the day. Back inside the court, the professor's ghost watches his student walk away looking totally defeated. Radiating his classic blue energy, the spirit crosses his arms and notes that the kid still has a very long and painful road ahead of him. The weather over the school building shifts, rolling in heavy dark clouds. The ex-champ's ghost stays hyper-focused, fully aware of the bad vibes surrounding the place. A while later in the staff room, teacher Hasian is alone after her shift is over. The fighter looks around the empty room, noticing the place is way quieter than usual. Walking past the desks, the woman spots teacher Yuna's stuff and thinks it's weird her coworker just ditched everything there. Suddenly, the phone left on the desk starts vibrating with a threatening text demanding to know where the owner is. The phone keeps blowing up, showing desperate calls ordering the employee to pick up right this second. The math teacher stares at the lit-up screen, getting a gut feeling that something really bad is going down. Out of nowhere, the vice principal violently snatches the phone and scolds the younger woman, telling her to stop snooping through other people's stuff. The scene cuts to the school's trashy hallways, which are now completely empty. Noticing the weird silence, Hasian wonders what happened to those chaotic students to make them this quiet. Right then, the elderly vice principal sneaks up behind the young woman, scaring the life out of her. The woman with glasses gets right in her face, asking in a super judgmental tone if the newly formed jiu-jitsu club is actually getting any results. Trying to stay positive, the teacher stands her ground and reminds her it's literally only been 2 days, but celebrates the fact that no riots have popped off so far. Dripping with disdain, the older woman insists it's impossible to fix thugs, and that kids like that will never genuinely change. Faced with that toxic mindset, the fighter just sighs in exhaustion, having no way to defend the school's terrible reputation. A bit later, the teacher and the MC walk side by side heading toward the school exit. Trying to hype the kid up, she steps closer, noticing he already looked drained earlier and somehow looks even more depressed now. The woman asks what the big deal is, reminding him he only lost one single practice match. Staring at the floor, the student complains about his situation and admits he is 100% sure he has absolutely zero talent for sports. Waving her arms, the teacher argues back, saying if everyone was born a prodigy, every random person on the street would be an elite fighter. She starts telling the lore of the master who founded the sport, explaining that he was also a short, physically weak guy. The teacher breaks down that leverage techniques were created specifically to bypass that disadvantage, turning jiu-jitsu into a fighting style meant for smaller people. The untouchable student argues back, saying he fell for that legend in the past, but ended up quitting the gym completely convinced he was just a failure. Absolutely crushed, he vents that he was used as a training dummy for 15 years and that nowadays he forfeits battles even in his sleep. Getting serious, the woman warns him that the sport isn't just about winning 24/7, it's about leveling up your knowledge step by step. Holding out her fist confidently, she asks if the kid remembers the golden rule that on the mats you only have 2 options. The teen bumps his fist against hers, finishing the famous quote by saying you either win or you learn a lesson. Suddenly Chialman breaks eye contact, noticing something super sketchy in the middle of their path. He points toward a nearby alley, asking why the professor's ghost has been hiding in the shadows this whole time. Looking super stressed, the blue entity puts a finger to his lips, demanding total silence right that second. The teen blinks, completely failing to understand why his old coach is acting so sus and secretive. The weather above the school gets even darker, forming heavy clouds that look like they're about to swallow the building whole. The untouchable student feels a chill run through his body, realizing the vibe of the place just shifted drastically. Staring at the school, the kid mutters that it feels like someone is about to lose their life in that building, creeping the teacher out with the dark comment. Super anxious about the bad gut feeling, he hesitates, trying to make sense of what he's sensing. Up on the roof, a creepy silhouette radiating a dark green energy stares down at the courtyard, proving the MC's bad feeling was spot on. The scene cuts to inside one of the classrooms, where teacher Yuna is running her reading session uninterrupted. Holding the textbook, the young woman explains that depression isn't just a lack of motivation, but a legit clinical illness caused by a chemical imbalance. She keeps reading, pointing out that despite being a global issue, most people suffering from it don't get help precisely because it's an invisible disease. The text highlights that when someone's mental health crashes, they usually end up blaming themselves for absolutely everything. Showing zero respect, a cheeky student mutters, trash-talking the lesson's topic and asking when it's finally gonna be over. Keeping her charm, the teacher ignores the disrespect and wraps up, saying the mind breaks exactly like a bone, but since you can't put a cast on it, the issue ends up getting ignored. Out of patience, the bully aggressively announces that he doesn't care about this depressing topic at all. Completely opposite to the chaos, a different student grips his pen tight over his notebook, trying his hardest to focus entirely on what the teacher is saying. Annoyed by the noise, the bully bumps into his classmate, asking if he even understands what he's writing down. Sweating from anxiety, the heavier kid stutters back, saying he was told that taking notes was the most important part of learning. Yanking the poor kid's hair, the delinquent mocks him, asking how someone who tries so hard manages to be the dumbest student in the school, ordering him to shut his mouth. After class ends, Hasyan walks down the hall and calls her coworker Yuna over for chat. The literature teacher turns around super sweet and starts a convo, curiously asking about how the brand new jiu-jitsu club is doing. The fighter returns the vibe, inviting her coworker to check out the training room, and notes she also wants to visit the famous ukulele club. Acting a bit embarrassed, Yuna touches her face, warning her that the club's name is basically just for paperwork. She explains that what the students actually do in the club is have rap battles way more than playing classical music. The teacher shares that the little instrument ends up getting smashed and taped back together by the boys at almost every meeting. On top of that, she mentions the members are always breaking their diets, remembering a student who sneaked snacks while making up terrible excuses. Despite all the chaos, the young woman shows massive love for her students, stating that the most important thing is seeing the kids genuinely having a good time. Totally amazed by her coworker's dedication, Hasyan praises her ability to stay positive despite dealing with so much garbage. But Yuna's vibe instantly turns sad when she replies, saying she just has to keep doing her job as a teacher. The scene takes a dark turn, showing the young educator standing frozen right on the edge of the school roof, mentally beating herself up for being a useless employee. Down in the courtyard, Xiaomin and the fighter stare up with wide eyes, absolutely shocked when they realize what's about to happen at the top of the building. The MC's eyes go wide as he processes the terrifying event unfolding up there. Near the ledge, two Grim Reapers wait patiently, while the white-haired one realizes teacher Yuna still has a long life ahead of her, not understanding why she's doing this. His partner with glasses takes notes on a clipboard and explains that she wants to end it herself, suggesting they just wait to collect her when it's done. Knowing the rules, the pale guy regrets that the choice is hers and states he can't do absolutely anything to stop it. Down in the courtyard, teacher Hasyan goes into full panic mode and screams at the top of her lungs, begging her friend to step away from the edge immediately. Only the tip of the teacher's foot separates her from the deadly drop at the edge of the building. Completely crushed inside, the literature teacher cries non-stop while staring up at the cloudy sky. Watching the scene, the suited Reaper notes that it usually only takes about 10 minutes between the initial urge and the final act. Hearing the stat, his partner realizes the woman's time is running out incredibly fast. In the middle of the courtyard, Xiaomin notices how insanely cold the other students are being, and gets furious that nobody cares about something this extreme happening right in front of them. The blonde bully rolls his eyes looking totally bored, calling the teacher's actions just a cry for attention. Showing absolutely zero empathy, the thug crosses his arms and yells for her to stop stalling and just jump already. Disgusted by the sadism, the untouchable kid realizes the only goal right now is just to buy time. A painful flashback hits the teen's mind, showing him sitting in a dark room during a similar dark time, making him deeply understand exactly how she feels. The memory shows a hand gripping a box cutter, highlighting the severity of the dark place he had already escaped from in the past. Clenching his fist tight, the student figures that if they manage to break the woman's focus during this critical moment, her life will be saved. Without wasting a second, he drops his bag on the ground and sprints off, frantically begging the math teacher to keep her friend's attention no matter what. Staying in the courtyard, the fighter stares up and screams her coworker's name with all the breath in her lungs. Yelling out the first thing that pops into her head, she asks why the a cappella show hasn't started yet, complaining she's been waiting for 2 hours. Still crying heavily, Yuna corrects her friend, sadly pointing out that the club was for ukulele. Pretending to be totally clueless about the situation, Hasyan asks what she's doing all the way up there like that. The literature teacher gulps, feeling the heavy reality of her own final choice. Her foot finally steps off the edge of the roof, signaling the start of the fall. Meanwhile, Xiaomin flies up the school stairs, scaling the steps at an unreal speed. The kid gasps for air non-stop, pushing his body to the absolute limit trying to reach the top of the building in time. Outside, the woman's body tips forward, falling into the absolute void. In a clutch moment, a hand spawns out of nowhere and grabs her clothes with insane strength from behind. Completely shocked, the teacher's eyes go wide as she gets dragged back against her will. A heavy pull yanks her away from the edge, tossing her safely onto the roof floor. The judoka Chu Gang-han appears, pinning the educator down hard, making sure she doesn't fall off the building. Crying uncontrollably, the woman freaks out, demanding to know the student's identity and ordering him to let her go right that second. Ignoring the order, the teen spins his own body and drags the teacher away from the ledge for good. Pinning the teacher down tight, the kid throws her own classroom quote back at her, reminding her that the mind breaks exactly like a bone. The judoka plants his legs firmly on the roof, making sure both of them are safe. He furiously asks why she decided to throw her life away instead of getting medical help at a hospital. Hearing the sudden scolding, the young woman just cries silently, totally vulnerable to his words. At that exact second, the roof access door is violently busted open, causing a massive bang. The two reapers turn their heads, curious about the loud entrance. The pale guy looks completely shocked when he sees who just arrived. Totally gassed out, Jialmin stops at the doorway trying to catch his breath after the frantic sprint. Peace returns to the school building as the tragedy gets cancelled at the last possible second. Down below, teacher Haseon lets out a massive sigh, feeling a colossal wave of relief wash over her chest. Annoyed that she got saved, the blonde bully curses at the situation and cruelly mutters that it would have been hilarious if she actually died. The fighter hears the taunt and turns her head, burning with rage as she cracks her knuckles. Losing all her patience, the teacher yells, grabbing the cheeky kid's attention, ready to dish out some punishment. The boss of the thugs backs up terrified by her fury and asks who the heck that woman is. Pointing her finger, Haseon screams furiously, asking if they genuinely think someone trying to end their life is a joke. Getting his ego back, the tough guy flashes a sadistic look and confirms it, declaring that it's actually hilarious. The educator freezes, unable to process the unreal level of cruelty coming from a teenager. Walking nearby, a hooded guy thinks to himself that he'd already heard rumors about the school turning into a complete dumpster fire lately. The mystery dude gives a dark look and asks what kind of teacher thinks they have the right to raise their voice like that. Back on the roof, Gang-han is still guarding the woman and mentions the rumor that hearts also break just like bones. Keeping his voice calmer, he repeats that anything broken needs to be treated at a hospital, not understanding why she chose such a tragic way out. The literature teacher can't handle the emotional weight and bursts into tears, feeling the full gravity of her own emotions. Losing the strength in her legs, she collapses onto the roof floor, hiding her face to cry. The freshman leader watches her break down, showing respect for the woman's moment of pain. Nearby, the MC spots the pale guy and asks why Mingu is hanging around here. The Grim Reaper's eyes go wide when he hears his own name, and he whips his head around completely shocked, staring at the student. Scanning the kid, the entity notices his spiritual pathway is unlocked and wonders if the teen is some kind of sorcerer. In a flash, the ghost gets right in the teen's face and asks straight up if the kid can actually see him. Sweating cold, the untouchable kid realizes the massive blunder he just made by talking out loud. The Reaper summons a supernatural fire in his hand and threatens the teen, ordering him to answer or get dragged to the underworld with him. Panicking and trying to trick the entity, the kid turns his head and screams the name Mingu at his judoka friend, telling him to grab the teacher fast so they can go downstairs. Ignoring the name mix-up, the teen helps the woman up and heads inside the building, while the two ghosts just watch the scene. Catching onto the kid's bad acting, the pale guy lets out a sarcastic laugh, calling the brat a coward. Changing the subject, he turns to his partner with glasses and asks if they've tracked down the ghost who stole their official item yet. A flashback shows the old ghost professor choking out the suited Reaper, yelling that it was unacceptable and that he wasn't crossing over no matter what. Sighing in annoyance, the partner replies that he got knocked out during the attack and can't remember absolutely anything. The pale guy finds it weird that he blacked out since they aren't human, but his partner explains that getting hit causes the exact same pain in the spirit realm, and nobody can stop a ghost overflowing with resentment. Stressed out, the partner with glasses asks what his coworker is going to do now, reminding him that if the bosses find out they lost the item again, they're definitely getting punished. He drops the lore about another Reaper who made the same mistake 3 times and got punished by being reincarnated as an animal, forced to live off pure instinct. The image of a gross bug scurrying across the floor shows the terrifying fate of their old coworker. Annoyed by his coworker's joking tone, the suited guy complains and tells him to stop trolling, so the pale guy pretends to look super worried about the situation. Radiating violent energy, the white-haired entity curses out the miserable ghost who caused this whole mess in his head. A wide shot of the city proves the relentless manhunt is still on, as the entity asks himself where the hell that cursed ghost is hiding. Back in the school stairwell, the MC sprints down the stairs as fast as he can, with the professor's ghost trailing him. Feeling a huge weight lifted off his shoulders after escaping, Dorian takes a deep breath and says thanks that the Reaper didn't notice him on the roof. But the pale guy's sharp glare proves he was definitely suspicious about something being super off with that whole situation. Down in the courtyard, a hooded guy walks up and stops, looking super threatening right in front of teacher Hasian. The teen acts aggressive and asks who she thinks she is to yell like that, questioning if the woman wants to get sued. Not putting up with the disrespect, the teacher rejects the baseless threat and demands to know the identity of the random guy. Right then, one of the thugs jumps into the convo, calling the hooded guy upperclassman and tries to chill the vibe, saying they were already leaving. The fighter is shocked by the info and asks if the intruder actually goes to this school. Pulling back his hood, the older student named Gongryol mocks the woman, saying it's unacceptable for her to call herself a teacher when she doesn't even recognize her own students. Keeping her unbreakable posture, she doesn't back down and immediately asks if the kid has even been showing up to class lately. The delinquent grits his teeth, annoyed by her solid attitude, hinting that the rookie woman still hasn't figured out how things work around here. Completely peaceful, the educator explains she isn't looking for a fight, she's just doing her job guiding the students. Rolling his eyes with pure disgust, Gongryol mutters that this is the problem with going easy on women and uses the critical situation on the roof as an excuse. With terrifying indifference, the older student claims that the literature teacher is just getting what she deserves. The cruel comment hits Hasian hard and her eyes go wide, unable to believe a kid would treat a tragedy like that. Showing zero remorse, the older student confesses to being the educator's romantic partner and claims he has every right to act that way. The teacher stands totally frozen, trying to process that disturbing info. Taking advantage of the tense moment, the other troublemaker tells his boss to chill and warns him that the rest of the gang is probably already waiting for them. Taking the advice, Gongryol curses at the fighter and swears he'll settle the score with her later. Turning his back, the delinquent shoves his hands in his pockets and starts walking away across the courtyard. Consumed by rage, Hasian charges forward demanding explanations and orders the teen to come back right that second to finish his sentence. The older student looks over his shoulder with zero patience, asking if the woman has completely lost her mind. Out of nowhere, the thug's partner steps in the way and warns the teacher not to get any closer. The vice principal suddenly appears and orders the staff member to step back, revealing that the older student has knocked out several teachers in the past. Annoyed that the older lady is so close, the teen mutters, complaining that the woman won't stop nagging in his ear. Taking control of the situation, the vice principal reminds him that the older student is suspended and permanently banned from setting foot on school grounds. Pretending to be hurt, Gongryol accuses the older woman of being cruel and discriminating against a student who just wants his right to an education. Not backing down, the woman with glasses promises that even though they have the worst reputation in the country, they refuse to teach anyone with his kind of character. With a look of pure disgust, she accuses the teen of acting like a basic thug who spends his days chasing other people around. The word thug hits the older student's ego perfectly, completely wiping the sarcastic smirk off his face. Totally unhinged, the teen screams at the top of his lungs, demanding to know who she is calling a criminal. A terrifying flashback surfaces, showing the teen cornering a defenseless victim in a dark stairwell. The scene reveals the literature teacher collapsed on the floor crying, proving the sick stalking she had to endure. The heavy footsteps of the attacker getting closer define the absolute panic the trapped woman felt. Snapping back to the present, Gongryol charges in furiously and intimidates the vice principal, asking if the teacher made up that lie. The woman panics at the student's violence and begs him to back away immediately. Acting at the exact right second, the school security guard steps into the middle of the fight and grabs the kid's arm to protect his boss. Surprised by the older man's strength, the older student freezes in place, unable to pull away. Wearing a strict look, the guard asks who gave him permission to trespass and warns the kid he's gonna catch a beatdown if he doesn't leave. The vibe gets heavy and the delinquent's partner panics, warning that they stand no chance against the guard and suggesting a quick escape. Accepting the L, the gang leader curses at the older staff and decides to back off to avoid getting dropped. The squad of criminals finally turns their backs and drags themselves out of the school courtyard. Calming down, the vice principal thanks the head of security, but the guy mutters, reminding her he's just a regular employee. Casually changing the subject, the guard asks if the principal is still in the building, since it's way past dinner time. Watching that whole sequence of bizarre events, teacher Hasian takes a breath, completely mind-blown, wondering what kind of insane asylum this school actually is. Right after the rescue on the roof, the MC and his judoka partner carefully help the literature teacher walk down the stairs. Refusing to drop his tough guy act, the freshman boss promises they can handle the mission and will walk with her all the way to a safe spot. Traumatized by everything that happened, the young woman just keeps a blank, sad stare locked on the floor. With the drama settled, the school staff decides to wrap up their day at a local K-barbecue spot. The admins and teachers gather around a massive feast to try and shake off the insane stress from the day. Holding her utensils, Hasyan tries to hype her coworker up to eat a lot, asking if she doesn't like meat. Still super closed off, the sad educator tries to put together an answer but ends up trailing off mid-sentence. In a slightly awkward show of care, the elderly principal drops a piece of food onto her plate, trying to kill the awkwardness. With her cheeks stuffed with food, the vice principal scolds her through tears, swearing she almost had a heart attack from the crazy stunt her coworker tried to pull. Looking at the weird moment, Yuna calmly asks the older woman to swallow her food first, since she couldn't understand a word she was saying. Pointing her chopsticks firmly, the fighter declares her coworker won't be left alone and will be taken straight to a therapist after they eat. Exhausted by all the attention on her, the young woman rests her head on the table and begs everyone to just leave her in peace. The tone of the conversation gets serious when the math teacher asks if all of this is because of the student Gongryol. Just hearing the stalker's name acts as a trigger, sending a tear down the traumatized teacher's face. Super worried, Hasyan says the admins already told her about the situation and demands to know all the details about what the kid did. Consumed by guilt, the educator cries quietly, admitting that the whole tragedy is entirely her own fault. A distant flashback shows the young woman walking up to the entrance of the notorious high school on her very first day of work. The second she stepped into the courtyard, she witnessed the absolute chaos of students fighting, but made a personal promise to change things. Bursting with hope, the teacher swore she would turn the worst school in the country into a better place. The memory shows the young woman super hyped, showing off an innovative lesson plan to a veteran teacher. The older teacher looks unbelievably exhausted and advises the rookie to drop the dedication, just begging her not to quit. The woman blinks, completely confused by her coworker's toxic negativity. Instantly after, the brutal reality of the school revealed itself when a bully threw another student onto the floor with insane violence right in front of her. The victim's body slammed into the school floor in a terrifying crash, showing the level of daily hostility. Things got worse when she caught the teen Gongryol pinning a classmate, forcing the teacher to step in by yelling. Ignoring the woman's authority, the thug threw a devastating punch straight into the victim's face. Blinded by hate, the attacker screamed, demanding to know why people kept provoking him if they couldn't handle the consequences. Desperate to stop a worse tragedy, Yuna grabbed the troublemaker's clothes, who turned his head, flashing the look of an absolute psychopath. Sweating in terror while gripping her useless lesson plan, the teacher begged the teen to stop the violence. Seeing how vulnerable the teacher was, the delinquent flashed a cruel smile and mocked her, asking what she thought she was doing. Remembering what happened, teacher Yuna cries out, begging the student to stop being violent and to just talk things out to fix the issues. Trying her best to calm the situation down, she asks him to chill and suggests they sit down and have a peaceful chat. Faced with that calm vibe, the thug blinks, totally confused, not understanding the woman's intentions. The flashback jumps to a counseling session at school, where the teacher kindly asks where all his anger comes from. Opening up, Gongryol says everyone mocks him because he doesn't have parents, furious about getting bullied for being abandoned, which wasn't even his choice. Hearing his tragic lore, the young woman gets tears in her eyes, feeling massive sympathy for the kid's situation. Caught off guard by the genuine empathy, the rebellious teen asks if she's actually crying over him. In a super caring tone, Yuna deeply sympathizes with all the obstacles he had to face completely alone in his life. To prove she's got his back, the teacher reaches out and grabs the student's hand with total confidence and care. Right after, she sticks a small band-aid over the cuts on the kid's hand super gently. Crying openly, the educator promises she's on his side and that she'll always be rooting for his success. The rebellious teen freezes, shocked by the level of affection he had never received before. Time skips forward, showing the teacher walking alone through the school halls feeling relieved. Suddenly, Gongryol spawns next to her, asking for another counseling session, and the woman nods, beaming with happiness. The meeting ends up happening off campus, with the duo chatting excitedly at a local convenience store. Laughing out loud at the conversation, Yuna looks surprised and mentions she had no idea the kid was actually so funny. The student gives a slightly weird smile, clearly loving getting all the woman's exclusive attention. Late afternoon rolls in, painting the sky with a beautiful sunset in the outdoor spot where they were talking. Without any warning, the teen takes a step forward, closing the gap between them in a really creepy way. Flashing an intense look, he pressures the teacher, asking if they could hang out again, just the two of them. Feeling a bit awkward, the teacher checks her phone and tries to dodge the situation, mentioning it's getting late so she has to leave. Instantly, the thug's eyes go wide, demanding an answer and asking if she was rejecting him. Completely losing it, the kid yells with a sick look on his face, reminding her that she was the one who promised to stay by his side. Sweating with anxiety from the sudden aggression, the woman caves to the pressure and agrees to stay just a little longer. A bit later, in an empty classroom, the troublemaker flexes about cutting a classmate's face in a fight. Visibly uncomfortable with the violent topic, Yuna quietly asks if they can talk about literally anything else. The teen leans in and asks why she wants to change the subject, swearing he thought she was loving the stories. Out of options, the educator fakes a nod saying it's cool, but tries to pivot by claiming she doesn't know anything about martial arts. The vibe gets heavy in the dark room, and the teen stares at her in silence before saying her name super coldly. Flashing a creepy, deranged look, the senior asks point-blank if the woman thinks he's a good guy. Trying to calm the student down, Yuna promises that even though he acts tough on the outside, he's actually super innocent on the inside. Hearing the praise, the thug's face lights up with a terrifying, completely sick level of excitement. Capitalizing on the moment, the teacher checks the time on her phone and warns him it's getting too late to keep talking. Violently and out of nowhere, the kid charges the educator and forces a kiss on her without any consent. The attacker's strong hand grips the woman's hair brutally to make sure she can't escape the assault. The teacher's eyes snap wide open in a mix of absolute terror and shock at the horrifying event. Her hands lock up, shaking non-stop as she tries to process what just happened. Putting all her strength together, the young woman shoves the teen backward frantically. Fueled by panic and disgust, the educator delivers a heavy slap right across the attacker's face. Right after, she covers her own face in terror, realizing the extreme move she had to make. The troublemaker brings his hand to his slapped face, staying completely silent in a terrifying way. Looking up with a psycho expression, he asks what she thinks she's doing to her own boyfriend. The woman panics at the teen's insanity, stuttering as she asks since when they ever had any kind of relationship. Totally unhinged, the senior screams at the top of his lungs, blaming the teacher for showing him affection and love. Backing away terrified, Yuna states that this dynamic isn't working anymore and cancels their sessions immediately. Escaping the hostile room, the teacher sprints through the door and slams it shut violently behind her. Through the classroom window, the aggressive student is seen standing completely still in the middle of the dark room. Facing away, the teen's body freezes as he clenches his fists, boiling with hate over being abandoned. With a look of pure hatred, he accuses the woman of just playing with his feelings, confirming his twisted mindset. Another time in the school hallway, the educator walks nervously when she hears her own phone ringing. The screen shows an insane 48 missed calls from the sick stalker. Yuna takes a breath, looking exhausted, feeling the weight of the mental harassment completely destroying her peace. Suddenly, the woman notices a weird presence when she hears someone fake a cough in the hall. The delinquent spawns leaning casually against the wall, demanding their next counseling session. Trying to shut the interaction down, the educator crosses his path, warning him quickly that there is no session today. Ignoring what she wants, the thug grabs her wrist with extreme violence to stop her from escaping. Blinded by hate, the kid demands to know why she's doing this and accuses the teacher of dumping him. The stalker's hand squeezes her arm with insane force as he yells, asking if it was all just a game to her. In pain, Yuna violently yanks her arm back to get free and screams, asking how unreal the situation is. Completely exhausted, the woman finally loses it and screams that she never had a relationship with him, because it was literally just her job. The unfiltered reality hits the teen, and his eyes go wide, consumed by a sick rage. Capitalizing on his shock, the educator turns her back and runs away terrified, rushing up the school stairs. A flood of toxic texts takes over the woman's phone, with the kid cursing her out and demanding her attention. The stalker's delusion peaks with one final, terrifying message claiming she needed to be punished. Reading the threats, the teacher struggles to breathe, feeling mental panic eat away all her resilience. Abruptly, she gets a massive scare when she notices something sketchy happening right behind her back. A violent hand spawns out of nowhere and aggressively yanks the woman's hair backward. The cowardly pull drops the educator straight onto the cold floor, revealing two masked guys stepping closer in the empty hallway. Curled up on the floor, the woman cries in terror and asks who they are and why they attacked her for no reason. One of the masked intruders holds a filthy bucket and coldly replies that he has absolutely no idea either. Tipping the bucket, the attacker warns her that he just got orders saying she needed a punishment. With zero mercy, the guy dumps the entire disgusting, sticky liquid all over the defenseless teacher. The woman's scream of agony echoes through the front of the school, shattering the tense silence of the building. Completely drenched in filth, the woman stumbles back into the staff lounge, under the shocked stares of her coworkers. Plugging her nose from the unbearable smell, Yuna collapses into tears, feeling the crushing weight of the insane humiliation she just endured. A little bit after the mess with the stalkers, teacher Yuna opens her locker and finds a weird envelope with a heart drawn on it. The second she opens it, she is hit with a terrifying and disgusting shock planted inside, serving as an obvious threat. The terror is so intense that the teacher lets out a scream of pure horror, grabbing the attention of everyone else in the room. Hearing it, her coworkers rush over immediately to try and figure out what caused the massive panic. Completely nauseous from the sick act, the young woman sprints down the halls covering her mouth so she doesn't throw up. Evaluating the incident, the older vice principal keeps an indifferent, formal posture despite the employee's trauma. Over the phone, the police warn that they can't do anything right now except issue an alert, advising the woman to just lock her doors securely. Feeling the crushing weight of being unprotected, Yuna agrees to the advice and thanks them for the useless help, her voice completely choked up. Right after her phone pings, signaling she just got more unsolicited texts. The stalker sends violent messages demanding to know who she was talking to and accusing the teacher of cheating on him with another guy. The educator freezes instantly, realizing in absolute panic that her stalker is still tracking her every move. The teacher's daily life turns into a literal hell as the days pass in the city. Consumed by fear, the young woman starts sprinting terrified down the sidewalks just to make it back to her apartment safely. The phone screen lights up the dark bedroom, showing a massive number of missed calls from an unknown contact. Completely cornered, the teacher hides under her blankets, shaking in terror in her own bed. Unable to take the mental toll anymore, the woman grabs her head, crying uncontrollably while the phone just keeps ringing. Snapping back to the present in the K-barbecue spot, the restaurant's tablet chimes with a new delivery order at the counter. Watching the teacher vent everything at the table, the ghost professor follows her pain with a look full of deep sympathy. Wiping her tears, Yuna takes the blame for all the stalking, saying she should have handled the relationship with the student way better. Traumatized, she breaks down that the kid was actually genuinely changing during their counseling sessions, before he lost his mind in that creepy way. Angry at that mindset, teacher Hasyan asks how her coworker can actually believe it's her fault for enduring all that abuse. The fighter promises that the thug never genuinely changed, and that he approached her with bad intentions from day one. Tied to her partner with a makeshift restraint, the literature teacher keeps crying and stubbornly insists she should have been more dedicated to her job. The vice principal shrinks back in her seat, thinking the conversation is morbid, while Hasyan takes a breath, completely annoyed by her coworker's stubbornness. Deciding to take action, the math teacher stands up from her chair, dragging her partner by the restraint, and announces she is absolutely not allowed to be alone under any circumstances. With that, the blue entity points his finger and orders the MC to act fast and take off the restraints from the two teachers. The old coach stays focused and asks if the kid is watching what's happening in the room. The untouchable teen turns his head, completely lost, scanning the restaurant. Near the entrance, a delivery driver wearing a blue helmet waits, leaning against the wall, while the tablet announces another order is ready. The problem is that the delivery guy just stands there completely frozen with his arms crossed in the same spot, even though delivery trips keep getting requested. The MC quickly spots the imminent danger, realizing that the unknown guy is obsessively watching the women's table, without actually doing a single delivery run.